Chapter 35:18, 10,000 feet tide. Our king's nest is on the other side of the cliff, occupying half of the cliff. Because in there, besides the king, there are also the king's concubines and children. De Mao's eyes revealed a hint of envy. Yun Chujiu rolled her eyes. On the other side of the cliff? Is the other side of the cliff the side facing the sea? Big Harry nodded and said, "That's right. It's more convenient to hunt sea beasts and fish in the sea, so the king has arranged the nest on that side." Yun Chujiu immediately said with a smile, "Then it's easy to deal with. Tomorrow when you are transporting the bastard's shell, you will deliberately miss and let me fall into the sea. Won't that do?" Big Harry thought that it was not impossible. Although it would be scolded a little, it would not do anything to it, so he said, "All right, but you have left. What about the temporary contract?" He Xinjiu said with a smile, "Don't worry. As long as I get my freedom, I will immediately cancel the temporary contract. No matter how bad it is, the temporary contract has a distance limit. If I go far away, the temporary contract will naturally be cancelled." Although Big Harry was still a little hesitant, he could not think of any other way. If he really offered this little girl to the king, this little girl would definitely drag him down with her before she died. So he could only agree. The next morning, Bluetail and the other two demonic birds came over. They and Big Harry worked together to grab the bastard's shell and fly out of the nest. They flew to the other side of the cliff. Before they could enter the bird king's nest, Big Harry's claws loosened. The other three could not bear the weight of the bastard's shell and could only watch as it kept falling. Just as Big Harry was about to heave a sigh of relief, he saw a giant winged bird that was bigger than them grab the bastard's shell with its claws and fly into the huge nest. Big Harry's head buzzed. Why did their king suddenly appear? It was over. That little girl had fallen into the hands of the king. He was definitely doomed. Her little life was going to be over. Blue-tailed and the other three demonic birds glared at Big Harry and followed him into the nest of the giant winged bird king. Big Harry could only droop his head and follow him into the nest. The nest of the bird king was more than 10 times bigger than Big Harry's nest. At this moment, the bastard's shell was placed in the middle of the nest, and the bird king was pecking at it with its sharp beak. Every time the bird king pecked, He Xinjiu felt the little bastard shiver. She could not help but ask with her spiritual sense, "Why? Do you think the bastard's shell can't hold on any longer?" The little bastard pointed at a few places with teary eyes and said, "Master, look, there are already cracks here." Yun Chujiu looked in the direction where the little bastard's finger was pointing at. As expected, there were already cracks in a few parts of the turtle shell. If this continued, the turtle shell would break sooner or later. Just as He Xinjiu was frowning, she heard several shrill cries coming from outside. This bastard's heart skipped a beat. What happened? As she expected, the bird king stopped pecking at the king's 8 shells and heard the sound of wings flapping. It seemed that it had left the cave. Soon Big Harry's panicked voice came from Yun Chujiu's spiritual sense. "Not good. The once-in-lifetime tide is coming. The sawtooth sea pigs are attacking. I'm afraid that our nest is going to be lost." Yun Chujiu was confused. The tide? Sawtooth sea pig? The nest was gone? He couldn't care less. After coming out of the bastard's shell, she found that Big Harry was the only one in the nest. He was looking outside. Chapter 35:19 The opportunity for her to become the king had arrived. Yun Chujiu walked to the entrance of the cave and looked outside. She saw huge waves constantly surging towards the cliff. The sea level had risen by several thousand feet, and most of the cliff had been submerged in the seawater. Fortunately, the nest of the bird king was built at the highest point, so it was not submerged in the seawater. Under the leadership of the bird king, the giant winged birds continued to fight with the sea beasts in the sea. Yun Chujiu almost laughed out loud when she saw the sea beasts. The sawtooth sea pig was too ugly. Although it looked like a pig, it was 100 times uglier than a pig. It was covered in wrinkled skin and had a pair of huge fangs. However, although this sawtooth sea pig looked ugly, it looked very ferocious and was not afraid of the giant winged birds. Moreover, there were cracking sounds coming from under the sea. The sawtooth sea pigs were probably gnawing on the cliff. Big Harry said with grief and indignation, "It's over. It's over. Once these sawtooth sea pigs gnaw on the cliff, we won't have a place to settle down in the future. This cliff is the only one within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. There isn't even a small island." Yun Chujiu heard Big Harry's words, but she was gloating in her heart. She deserved it. "I told you to eat me, you got your retribution. However, this fellow quickly thought that now was the time for chaos. Why not take the opportunity to escape? Hence she said to Big Harry, "Big Harry, quickly carry me and we will leave this place." Big Harry looked at the huge waves and heard his companion's sorrowful cry. He said, "I want to protect our nest with my companion. If you want to kill me, then kill me." As Big Harry spoke, he flew out of the nest and pecked at the eye of a sawtooth sea boar. Hei Xingqiu did not expect Big Harry to do this. She mumbled, "Oh, you have some integrity. Forget it, I'll let you off." Hei Xingqiu summoned the chopping board and flew out of the cave. Although a few of the shadow-skimming giant winged birds had found her, they did not have the time to pay attention to her. They all worked together to attack the sawtooth sea boar that was gathering on the surface of the sea. The sawtooth sea pigs were clearly determined to destroy the nest of the skimming giant winged birds. If the skimming giant winged birds did not fight with them for food, their food would be much richer. Therefore, this was a once-in-lifetime opportunity that could not be let go. This cliff was originally made hollow by the skimming giant winged birds when they were building the nest. With the beating of the huge waves and the bite of the sawtooth sea pigs, it was quickly broken into two. Even if the bottom half was not broken, there was no way to build another nest because it was too close to the surface of the sea. Firstly, it would be soaked in the sea water, and secondly, it would be attacked by sea beasts. To make matters worse, in order to save a young bird, the bird king was dragged into the sea by a few sawtooth sea boars. Soon the sea surface was dyed red. The shadow-skimming giant winged birds had no leader, and it was suddenly chaotic. They could only hover in the air and sing softly. Hei Xingqiu looked at the scene in front of her and blinked her eyes. She was naturally not a kind person. But now, these giant winged birds had no bird king and no place to build a nest. Wouldn't this be a good opportunity for her to become a king? The firmament sea was boundless. It was extremely difficult for her to reach land by herself. If she had a group of birds to protect her, wouldn't she be happy? Moreover, if she could bring these birds into the desert, she might be able to find an exit directly. She wouldn't have to cross the sea in the sky. Chapter 35:20 Taking advantage of a burning house. Yun Chujiu thought for a while and said to Big Harry with her spiritual sense, "Come here for a while. I have something important to tell you." Big Harry was circling in the air in grief and indignation. Hearing Yun Chujiu's words, he hesitated for a while and flew towards Hei Xingqiu. "Big Harry, I don't need to tell you. You know that you are no match for those sawtooth sea pigs. Moreover, your bird king is dead and your nest has been destroyed. There is no benefit in fighting them head-on. If you want to find a place to rebuild your home, then cooperate with me." Hei Xingqiu's crafty look was like a big-tailed wolf that kidnapped a little white rabbit. Big Harry obviously did not believe Yun Chujiu's words. How could a weak little girl help them find a place to rebuild their home? "Stop bullshitting." Yun Chujiu snorted coldly when she saw the situation. "You don't believe me? You also said that there are no islands within 10,000 miles, and there is no place to land halfway. Can you fly that far? But I'm different. I have a boat. If you follow me, I can lead you to find a suitable island or reef. Do you think I'm willing to interfere with your stupid business? It's all because of you. Otherwise, I would have left long ago." Hearing Yun Chujiu's words, Big Harry was silent for a moment and asked, "Are you really so kind? What are your conditions? You guys are in charge of protecting my safety. This is the best of both worlds. Go and ask the other birds now. If they agree, bring me into the desert first. We can discuss it properly." Big Harry looked at his companions who were circling around and wailing. He nodded and flew towards his companions. Big Harry told them everything. Although the other demonic birds were unhappy that Big Harry had hidden the contract, Yun Chujiu's suggestion was their life-saving straw. They all agreed without any arguments. The flock of birds immediately flew towards the desert with Hei Xingqiu, but they could not find the entrance. Hei Xingqiu frowned. Could it be that the life gate of the array formation was closed because of the high tide? The flock of birds tried a few more times, but they still could not enter. Therefore, they could only agree to Hei Xingqiu's suggestion because there was no other way out. Hei Xingqiu blinked her eyes. Babies love to take advantage of others. Since we are now in a cooperative relationship, we have to show some sincerity. Come, all the birds, come over and establish a temporary contract with me, then we will set off, Hei Xingqiu said with a smile. Those demonic birds stared at each other, establishing a contract with her. What kind of joke was this? If she was up to no good, wouldn't they just be at her mercy? Yun Chujio naturally knew what these demonic birds were thinking. She sneered and said, "What? You don't want to agree? You have to be clear that you have something to ask of me. Other than me, do you have any other way to find a new nesting site? Can your cubs follow you in the air for a long time? It's already good enough that I'm willing to help you, but you don't even appreciate my kindness. What a bunch of stupid birds." When Blue-tailed heard Yun Chujio calling them stupid birds, it was so angry that it wanted to slap Heishinjio into the sea. However, when it saw the babies and eggs in the mother bird's mouth, it immediately wilted. It was still alright for them to be adult demonic birds, but these babies and eggs could not travel long distances at all. Moreover, it was unknown what kind of situation they would encounter on the way. The spiritual beast bags of humans were obviously safer. Chapter 35-21. Do you want revenge? Heishinjio did not urge those giant winged birds. Anyway, she was sure that these stupid birds had no way out. Even if the desert gap was still there, the desert climate was not suitable for them. They could not survive in the desert for a long time, so they could only agree to her conditions. Sure enough, those demonic birds discussed for a while and finally agreed to Heishinjio's conditions with their heads drooping. Heishinjio happily collected the large flock of giant winged birds and looked at the sawtooth sea pigs that were still gnawing on the cliff. Blinking his eyes, he asked with a smile, "Do you want to take revenge?" The giant winged birds naturally wanted to take revenge, but when they saw Heishinjio's thin body and her level 1 spiritual essence, they were immediately discouraged. Blue-tailed bird said disdainfully, "We can't do anything to those sawtooth sea pigs. What can you do?" Yun Chujio glanced at it and said, "No wonder you are called blue-tailed bird. Birds really live up to their names." Blue-tailed bird looked at its blue tail feathers suspiciously. It was called blue-tailed bird because its tail feathers were blue. Wasn't this little girl talking nonsense? Yun Chujio ignored it and summoned a hua instead. The demonic birds watched as a purple piglet fell toward the surface of the sea. They couldn't help but look at Heishinjio in disdain. Although it was rare for this little girl to be able to use spiritual beasts, how could this thing deal with the sawtooth sea pigs below? Stop joking. It didn't even have the right to stuff its teeth into the sea. At this moment they heard the little girl shout slyly, 10,000-year-old single pig. Kill these ugly monsters for me." As soon as Yun Chujio finished her words, the demonic birds were stunned to find that the little pig was rapidly growing bigger. Its original purple color had turned black and a pair of wings had grown on its back. Pigs could grow wings? The jagged sea pigs in the sea were even more dumbfounded. They had already won. Just as they were about to retreat, they saw a huge monster fall from the sky. What the hell was that? However, the sawtooth sea pigs did not take Dahua seriously. Although it looked weird, its master was only at the first level of the spirit transformation realm. How powerful could it be? However, they were soon miserable. After Dahua fell into the sea, it sent one away with its claw and two away with its tail. Even its wings, which it did not normally use, sent two sawtooth sea pigs flying with a casual flap. In an instant, it was as if dumplings were being placed on the surface of the sea. Plop, plop, plop. The sawtooth sea pigs were sent flying one after another. Those giant winged birds were all dumbfounded by what they saw. A few of them were so shocked that they forgot to flap their wings and almost fell into the sea. Wasn't this too unbelievable? This little girl's spiritual power was so weak. Why was her spiritual beast so abnormal? Big Harry suddenly remembered what Yun Chujio had said about concealing her spiritual power. Could it be that this little girl really had hidden her spiritual power, and her spiritual power was actually very, very high? While the birds were stunned, they heard Heishinjio say indifferently, "Hand over the baby birds and eggs to me. You guys go and take revenge yourself." The demonic birds immediately swooped down and pecked at the eyes and other weak parts of the sawtooth sea pigs. For a moment, there was a storm of blood on the surface of the sea. Yun Chujio only used Dahua twice and did not attack again. If the demonic birds found out that she could use Dahua countless times, they would definitely blame her for not helping them to protect the cliff earlier. Not only was the human heart complicated, the demonic birds were the same. Chapter 35-22 made me happy. The jagged sea boar saw that the giant winged birds were attacking them like crazy, and they had already achieved their goal, so it was in a stalemate for a while before it escaped into the sea. The giant winged birds finally vented their anger, and their resistance toward Yun Chujio lessened. Yun Chujio was eager to return, so she naturally didn't want to waste any more time, so she said, Let's go, let's go. Thus, under the protection of the flock of birds, this fellow set off happily. With such a huge flock of demonic birds, naturally no blind demonic birds would dare to come and look for trouble, so the journey was very smooth. Yun Chujio let the demonic birds enter the spirit beast pouch to take turns to rest every now and then. This not only did not affect the journey, but also ensured that the demonic birds had time to rest. At first, this fellow was still sitting on the chopping board. Later, in order to experience the Bird King's scenery, he simply sat on Big Harry's back. It was simply wonderful. Little ones, this king is very annoyed. Change the formation for this king and let this king be happy. Come, one line long snake formation. Another two dragons swimming formation. Those giant winged birds felt as if their hearts were bleeding. They had never done such a shameful thing in their lives, and they even changed their formation. Was it okay for them to go back on their words now? This little girl was simply a pervert. In addition to changing their formation, these demonic birds were also responsible for hunting for this fellow. From time to time, they would go to the sea to hunt sea fish and small sea beasts for Hei Xinjia's tooth sacrifice. Hei Xinjio ate and drank all kinds of food and drinks every day. If she was not worried about Beiming and the East Phoenix country, this fellow felt that it was okay to wander around for a few more days. The speed of the shadow skimming bird was very fast. In just a few days, it had already flown over 10,000 miles. Hei Xinjio counted with her fingers. According to this speed, even if the vault of heaven sea was very large, they would be able to reach land within half a month. On this day, Hei Xinjio was lying on Big Harry's back and leisurely humming a little tune. Suddenly, Big Harry's body fell rapidly. Hei Xinjio suddenly sat up. The shadow-skimming birds in front of her also fell one after another. Before Hei Xinjio could react, she fell into the sea. The guy stuck his head out of the water and cursed angrily. "Are you still birds? Can't you even fly?" Big Harry said aggrievedly, "Little fairy, it's not our problem. It seems that flying is forbidden here." It was also very aggrieved. Although it was a suborn demonic bird, it was still very scary to fall from the sky, okay? Yun Chujio frowned and tried to summon the chopping board. As expected, it was forbidden to fly. The first thought that came to this fellow's mind was, "Fuck, I've suffered a great loss." Although these giant winged skimmers were suborn demonic birds, their fighting strength in the water was greatly reduced. They relied on the speed of diving down from the sky to attack the sea fish and small sea beasts. Now that they were forbidden to fly, they basically couldn't help her much. She still had to painstakingly help them find a place to build their nest. The more she thought about it, the more she lost money. This fellow secretly cursed his bad luck, but he still summoned a large ship. He only left Big Hair on the deck and kept the rest of the shadow-skimming giant winged birds into the spirit beast bag. Hei Xinjio frowned. There must be high-level sea beasts here. Although De Hua was still considered powerful, if they encountered high-level sea beasts, it would not be enough. There were cracks on the bastard's shell. He could not use it anymore as he had no other choice. It would be terrible. Chapter 35-23. Eating a crock of meat. Big Harry saw Hei Xinjia's gloomy face and tried to reduce his presence, afraid that she would vent her anger on him. Unfortunately, he still couldn't avoid it. "Big Harry, did you know that this place is forbidden to fly but didn't tell me? You evil heart, you were trying to trick me." Hei Xinjio pointed at Long Harry and cursed. Long Harry was almost wronged to death. It said aggrievedly, "Little fairy, no, your majesty, we have never flown this far before. How would we know that this place is forbidden to fly? Moreover, if we had been here before, would we still be alive now? We would have been eaten by other sea beasts long ago." At this point, Big Harry looked at Hei Xinjio with full of expectation. "Your majesty, tell me the truth. What is your spiritual power level exactly?" Yun Chujio glared at it. "Didn't you see it? It's only at the first level of the spiritual transformation realm. You unlucky bird, get lost." Big Harry's heart was suddenly covered with a layer of shadow. It was over. He thought that this little girl deliberately hid her strength, but it turned out that she was worse than him. She was dead. If he had known earlier, he would have lived on the ruins of the cliff at least for a few more days. Hei Xinjio held her chin in frustration and gritted her teeth. "Fuck, there will always be a way. Let's eat some roasted meat first." Long Hair looked at a certain Jio who was eating her fill and felt that her future was bleak. This little girl had obviously broken all the rules. Was she trying to be a glutton? Hei Xinjio ate a few skewers and felt a little better. Looking at Longhair, who was drooping his head, she curled her lips and said, "Silly bird, you haven't eaten roasted meat before, right? Come here, this king will reward you with a piece of meat." Longhair was about to cry. What kind of roasted meat was there to eat at this time? However, he did not dare to disobey. He could only go to Yunchujio's side and pick up a piece of roasted meat that Yunchujio had given him. After a moment, Longhair's face was filled with tears. Damn, this roasted meat was really delicious. Even if he were to die now, he would not have lived in vain. Thus, the man and the bird began to eat the roasted meat on the deck. Just as they were enjoying their meal, a huge wave came and the sea water surged onto the deck. The bonfire was instantly extinguished. The man and the bird were instantly enraged. Both of them looked in the direction of the wave. When they saw the huge monster in the distance, they immediately threw their anger to the clouds. Oh my god, they were most likely going to die. Big king, it's a level 61 bloodthirsty swordtail shark. What should we do?" Longhair stammered. Hey Shinjio said in a bad mood, "What else can we do? Run." Hey Shinjio drove the boat at the fastest speed, but it was useless. The bloodthirsty swordtail shark was huge. After rolling in the sea for a few times, Hey Shinjio's boat was in danger of capsizing. Hey Shinjio had no choice but to release Dehua. Dehua was about the same size as the bloodthirsty swordtail shark. Seeing the two fighting, Hey Shinjio quickly ran away. A moment later, Dehua dissipated under the attack of the bloodthirsty swordtail shark, and Hey Shinjio had no choice but to release the pigs again. Then, Dehua dissipated again and Hey Shinjio continued to release the pigs. The quail on the deck's Longhair widened his eyes in surprise. So this black-hearted little girl could release so many pigs? Then why did she only release them 3 times before? Was she doing it on purpose? Big Hair did not have any intention of blaming Hey Shinjio. Instead, he hoped that Hey Shinjio would hide as much of her strength as possible. Otherwise, if she died, they would not be able to live. Chapter 35-24 could be used to refine pills or weapons. Although Hey Shinjio relied on Dehua to escape for some distance, the spiritual power in her body was depleting rapidly, and she could no longer enlarge Dehua. At this moment, the bloodthirsty swordtail shark chased after her and opened its bloody mouth to bite the big ship. Hey Shinjio quickly put Big Hair into the spirit beast bag, then jumped into the sea and spilled a bucket of black ink. Taking advantage of the cover of the ink, Hey Shinjio dived to the bottom of the sea. After calling out "Little Bastard," she hid in the turtle shell, and let Little Bastard hide the turtle shell in the sand at the bottom of the sea. Hey Shinjio took off the hidden spirit ring and put Little Bastard into the spirit beast bag. Then she held her breath, hoping that the bloodthirsty swordtail shark had bad eyesight and would not find her. This bastard thought that even if the bloodthirsty swordtail shark found the big bastard's shell, it would not necessarily think that she was hiding inside. It would only think that it was an empty shell. Moreover, she deliberately made the little bastard shrink the shell so that it did not look like the shell of a high-level sea turtle, so it should not attract the attention of the bloodthirsty swordtail shark. Perhaps Hey Shinjio's praying had played a role. This bastard waited for a long time, but there was no unusual movement. He could not help but feel happy. He had finally escaped a disaster. Just as the bastard was feeling happy, he felt the turtle shell begin to shake. Obviously, something was digging out the turtle shell. The bastard's heart sank. It seemed that he still could not escape. The bastard gritted his teeth. If it was really not possible, when the bloodthirsty swordtail shark opened its mouth to bite the turtle shell, she would let the little bastard put the turtle shell into its stomach. Impeach, when that time came, she wouldn't be able to kill it. Thinking of this, Hey Shinjio suddenly felt confident. She let the little bastard out and let it open a tiny crack in the bastard's shell. When Hey Shinjio saw the situation outside, she couldn't help but be stunned. It wasn't the bloodthirsty swordtail shark at all. It was actually 2 people. People. How could there be people in the depths of the firmament sea? What were they here for? Most importantly, they were obviously going to get rid of her and the big bastard. If they found out that she was hiding in the big bastard's shell, would they kill her and steal the treasure? Hey Shinjio's heart was in a mess. Moreover, she couldn't see through the spiritual power of the 2 people outside, which meant that their spiritual power was definitely higher than hers. After weighing the pros and cons, she decided to take a look first. No matter what, it would be good if she could take these people's boat back to land. Moreover, these people actually scared the bloodthirsty swordtail shark away. They must be extraordinary. There shouldn't be any danger along the way. They would definitely be able to reach land successfully. Thinking of this, Hei Xinjiu had the little bastard close the crack in the turtle shell. Then she crossed her legs and went into the turtle shell, looking like she was in love with anyone. The little bastard stared at Hei Xinjiu with his small eyes, thinking that the beautiful owner was really big-hearted. After a while, Yun Chujio felt the bastard's shell shake violently, and she heard the sound of heavy objects colliding. He guessed that it must have been carried to the deck. Someone spoke from outside. "Senior Brother Wang, although we let the bloodthirsty sword-tail shark escape, we found this thing at the bottom of the sea. Although it looks like an ordinary shell, after careful inspection, we found that it should be a good thing. Can be used to refine pills or weapons." The little bastard inside the turtle shell was so angry that he rolled his eyes. Damn it, he actually wanted to use his mother's turtle shell to refine pills or weapons. How shameless. Chapter 35-25 actually had the leisure to watch the show. Hei Xinjiu was afraid that the little bastard would make a ruckus out of anger, so she quickly put the little bastard into the spirit beast bag and continued listening. Soon, the sound of something tapping on the turtle shell was heard. Then a voice said, "I've never seen a sea beast with such a turtle shell before, but it's quite hard. Forget it, it's not bad to bring it back to the sect to exchange for contribution points." Coincidentally, someone shouted that they had found a sea beast, and then came the sound of hurried footsteps. Apparently, those people had gone to see the sea beast, so no one paid attention to the big 8 shell. Hei Xinjiu heard the sound of fighting in the distance, so no one paid attention to this place. She secretly opened a crack on the big 8 shell and carefully looked outside. Although her vision was limited, the scene she saw still made Hei Xinjiu secretly click her tongue. This ship looked very high class, at least 100 times more advanced than the ship in her storage ring. The person just now had addressed the other person as senior brother. What sect were they from? Could they be from the Li Hate Palace? Because other than the Li Hate Palace, no other faction would address each other as senior brother. Hei Xinjiu pondered for a moment and still felt that it would be better to board this ship. Even if they were really people from the Li Hate Palace, she would still be able to find a way to leave before these people entered the Li Hate Palace. With this in mind, she had the little bastard turn his turtle shell in a different direction and then watch the show through the cracks. It had to be said that this guy was really bold. At this time he actually had the mood to watch the show. Although she couldn't see it clearly, the dazzling spirit energy attacks from afar were still very eye-catching. The more she looked, the more shocked she was. These people seemed to have even higher spirit energy than the one she had killed, Instructor Lu Jiaoxi. This didn't make sense. She heard that Instructor Lu Jiaoxi was already well known in the Li Hate Palace. These people didn't seem to be very old, so how could they have higher spirit energy than Instructor Lu? Could it be that these people were not from the Li Hate Palace? Just as Hei Xinjiu was puzzled, someone turned around and looked over. Hei Xinjiu immediately held her breath. Fortunately, the crack in the turtle shell was small enough, so she was not afraid of being discovered. That's strange. I seem to have noticed that someone was watching us just now, that person said strangely. Senior Brother Wang, are you kidding? Our people are fighting with those sea beasts in the sea. There are only the 2 of us on this ship, so how could there be anyone else? Another person said with a smile. The person called Senior Brother Wang shook his head and said with a bitter smile, "Maybe I'm thinking too much. We've been drifting in the firmament sea for almost 2 months this time. It's inevitable that we're a little spiritless." Another person echoed, "Yeah, I feel like vomiting when I see the sea. After killing those sea beasts in front of us, our mission is almost complete. We can return to the sect." Just as the 2 of them were about to continue talking, people came back one after another. It was bustling with laughter. Hei Xinjiu was afraid that she would be discovered, so she did not dare to look any further. She only listened attentively, but she did not catch any more useful information. Just as the guy was pondering, he heard the person who was talking to Senior Brother Wang say, "Senior Brother Wang, this bastard shell takes up a lot of space. Put it into your storage ring." Yun Chujia's head buzzed. There was no way a living thing could be put into the storage ring. It was over. She had been exposed. Sure enough, Senior Brother Wang tried a few times but failed to put the shit shell into the storage ring. Chapter 35-26. Hei Xinjiu, who was regarded as a godly beast, everyone gathered around and said, "It seems that the demonic beast is still alive. It's just hiding in the turtle shell. But why isn't there any spiritual energy fluctuation? Someone said uncertainly, when it came out of the sea, there seemed to be a weak spiritual energy fluctuation. But I thought it was from other fish or small sea beasts in the sea. I didn't expect that it was still alive. I'm really curious about what kind of sea beast it is. Quickly think of a way to get its head out. Along with the chattering, some people began to use swords and knives to look for cracks on the turtle shell, trying to open it. However, after searching for a long time, they still couldn't find any cracks. Someone suggested, "Senior Brother Wong, your spiritual power is the highest. You might as well smash the turtle shell with a spiritual weapon. That way the thing inside will have no place to hide." Senior Brother Wong frowned. If we smash its shell, it might not be able to survive. He had never seen such a sea beast before. It was better to bring it back and let the sect deal with it. If the species is very rare, we can raise it in the spirit beast garden. Obviously, the rest of the people followed Senior Brother Wong's lead, therefore someone echoed, "That's good too. Otherwise, if this thing is really rare, it would be a pity if it was killed by us. Senior Brother Wong, in order to prevent this thing from escaping, you can put it into the spirit beast bag." The spirit beast pouch in Towering Sky Continent was the same as Yun Chujia's spirit beast pouch. He had taken spirit beasts that did not recognize its owner. Therefore, Senior Brother Wong nodded and prepared to put the bastard's shell into his spirit beast pouch. However, after trying several times, he could not put it in. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? At first, everyone thought that there was something wrong with Senior Brother Wong's spirit beast pouch. However, after the others tried a few times, they found that they could not put it in and immediately exploded. Oh my god! What's going on? This turtle shell cannot be put into the storage ring or the spiritual beast bag. What the hell is this? Yeah, it's really weird. I've never heard of such a thing. Everyone was more and more interested in the Big 8 shell. They kept knocking and testing it. Hei Xinjiu, who was inside, wanted to bang her head against the wall because of the noise. At this moment, someone exclaimed, "I know. This thing might be an immortal beast or a divine beast. Although our spirit beast bag can hold a spirit beast that doesn't recognize its owner, if it's an immortal beast or a divine beast, there's no way to keep it if it doesn't recognize its owner." The rest of the people were stunned at first. Then they looked at the Big 8 shell with burning eyes and said excitedly, "It makes sense. What you said makes sense. This thing has a turtle shell. Could it be a divine beast, Black Tortoise?" After hearing this person's words, everyone became even more excited. If it really was a divine beast, they had made a great contribution this time, and they would definitely receive a lot of rewards when they returned to the sect. "Senior Brother Wong, in order to prevent this divine beast from escaping, you'd better quickly use the restraining talisman and the beast binding rope to control it. Then we'll take turns to watch it. No matter what, we can't let this big treasure escape." "Right. Even if we don't sleep, we have to watch it. This will affect our future." As expected, Senior Brother Wong took out a few confinement talismans from his storage ring and stuck them on the Big King's 8 shell. Then he tied the Big King's 8 shell tightly with the beast binding rope. Hei Xinjiu, who was inside the Big King's 8 shell, wanted to cry but had no tears. How could she suddenly become a beast? Damn it, I don't want to live anymore. Chapter 35-27 was waiting as they were afraid that the beast Hei Xinjiu would run away. Those people stared at her day and night. Not only did they have the confinement talismans and beast binding ropes, but they also made a large iron cage overnight to put the turtle shell inside. Hei Xinjiu secretly peeked through the gap to see the scene. She gave up the idea of running away and prepared to find an opportunity to escape after she got ashore. As for the imprisonment talismans and beast binding ropes, they were all aimed at the 8 shells of the Great King. They did not affect her in the slightest, not to mention that this fellow also had a large kitchen knife in his hand. What this fellow was more curious about was the identity of these people. From their words, Hei Xinjiu was surprised to discover that these people were not from the Li Hate Palace. Furthermore, from their words, it seemed like they belonged to a very large sect. This was really strange. There was such a large sect on the Towering Sky Continent. Why had she never heard of it before? From what everyone knew, it seemed that the Li Hate Palace was already the ruler of the Towering Sky Continent. Hei Xinjiu thought back to when she had asked about her father's whereabouts. The gigolo had said that it was a faction that she could not provoke. Could it be that there was a bigger and stronger faction outside the Li-Hate Palace? However, it was also true. The gigolo was so powerful, but he could only hide his strength and bide his time when facing his enemy. There must be an even more terrifying faction. Hei Xinjiu suddenly felt that she was getting weaker and weaker. It was rare for this fellow to have the initiative. He sat inside the king's 8 shells and began to cultivate. Just like that, nearly half a month had passed and the big ship finally docked. Senior Brother Wang and the others put the 8 shells of the big king onto the flying spirit tool, and everyone finally let out a long breath. This thing was a Siborn demon beast and it would definitely not be able to escape this time. Seeing that they had already reached the shore, Hei Xinjiu quickly took out Di Baiming's voice transmission talisman. This guy told her about his situation in a short sentence. Soon, Di Baiming's cold voice came from the other side. Wait. Hei Xinjiu, it seemed that the pretty boy had already taken the antidote because his voice had already recovered, and this line felt somewhat familiar. However, did the pretty boy know where she would be taken? Could it be that he knew this place? With Di Baiming's reply, Hei Xinjiu's heart inexplicably calmed down. This fellow thought of the matter of the East Phoenix country again, and hurriedly took out Prime Minister Sima's voice transmission talisman, asking about the progress of the matter. Prime Minister Sima said with an excited trembling voice, "Your Majesty, I finally have news of you. This old subject is worried to death. Don't worry, the Star Sun Kingdom has already been taken down by our 4-kingdom alliance and is currently attacking the Ghost Gold Kingdom and the Winged Fire Kingdom. Although the situation is extremely advantageous to us, I estimate that we will need at least 3 months to half a year before we can take it down." Yun Chujie was very satisfied and gave a few instructions. Then, Prime Minister Sima said guiltily, "Your Majesty, the young prince has suddenly disappeared. However, after young Master Di appeared and told me that he had taken the young prince away, I didn't dare to ask further." You won't blame me, right? Yun Chujie almost laughed out loud. Since the pretty boy had already taken the antidote, the pretty boy had naturally disappeared. Hei Xinjiu comforted Prime Minister Sima for a while before she finally felt relieved. At least, before the Ghost Gold Kingdom and the Winged Fire Kingdom were taken down, the 3 kingdoms of the Lu Earth Kingdom would not give up. As long as she could return to the East Phoenix Kingdom within 3 months, it would not be a problem. The gigolo thought of Xue Wuji again, so he took out his voice transmission talisman and sent a message to Xue Wuji. On the other side, Xue Wuji almost passed out from laughter after receiving Hei Xinjiu's voice transmission talisman. Haha. Little Sister Jiu has been treated as a divine beast. Damn, I'm dying of laughter. Chapter 35-28. He could not escape from little ninth sister's grasp, and Feng, who was standing beside Xue Wuji, saw this and moved closer to Xue Wuji and asked, "Young Master Wuji, what did you say? Ninth Miss was treated as a divine beast?" Xue Wuji managed to stop his laughter with much difficulty. "Yes, little ninth sister said that she accidentally entered the firmament sea and was treated as a divine beast by some sect disciples who wanted to bring her back to the sect. And Feng, although ninth Miss was a little freakish, she shouldn't be taken as a divine beast, right?" Seeing that Feng was confused, Xue Wuji smiled and told him what Yun Chujie had told him. And Feng suddenly understood. Then he said worriedly, "According to Ninth Miss, she probably went to the northern continent of Towering Sky Continent. Ninth Miss was caught because she was unfamiliar with the place. There won't be any danger, right?" Xue Wuji curled his lips. "Don't worry. Didn't that facial paralysis leave in a hurry? He must have rushed to save little ninth sister. Let me tell you, let alone sealing 7 emotions and 6 desires, even if that facial paralysis seals his brain, he won't be able to escape from little ninth sister's palm." Although Feng did not dare to agree with Xue Wuji's words, he agreed in his heart. Not to mention other things, their venerable one had to seal 7 emotions and 6 desires again every time he met Ninth Miss. What did this mean? This meant that their honored master could not withstand Ninth Miss charm at all. Putting everything else aside, even if Ninth Miss turned into a baby, she could still provoke their honored master to break the seal. Their honored master could be considered to have been eaten alive by Ninth Miss. Yun Chujie chatted with Xue Wuji for a while and her mood became brighter and brighter. She counted on her fingers and waited for the pretty boy to save her. However, before Di Baiming arrived, the flying spirit tool landed. The sound of someone talking came from outside. It was probably Senior Brother Wang and the others who had already arrived at the sect and were chatting with the disciples guarding the gate. Senior Brother Wang, why didn't you put the turtle shell into your storage ring? Why did you use someone to carry it? A person asked curiously. Senior Brother Wang and the others probably didn't want to cause any more trouble, so they said vaguely, "This turtle shell is a little damp. Bring it out to see the sun." After Senior Brother Wang finished speaking, he hurriedly brought his people into the sect. The few disciples guarding the gate looked at each other, their faces full of confusion. What did they mean by bringing it out to see the sun? Could it be that these people had gone out for a trial and damaged their heads? Senior Brother Wang and the others were afraid that there would be more complications, so they carried the 8 shells of the Big King and ran to the Spirit Beast Garden within the sect. When the disciples guarding the Spirit Beast Garden saw Senior Brother Wang and the others, they frowned. You can't enter and leave the Spirit Beast Garden at will. Do you have a token or a document? Senior Brother Wang pointed at the turtle shell that was being carried by someone and said, Senior Brother, we have found a rare spirit beast in the vault of Heaven Sea. We are going to bring it here to let Elder Zhuge of the Spirit Beast Garden identify it and see what kind of spirit beast it is. The 2 disciples guarding the gate glanced at Wang Baka. They pursed their lips and said, This is the savage dragon blood turtle. Although it has the black tortoise bloodline, the probability of awakening the distant ancestor's bloodline is very, very small. It is not considered a remarkable spirit beast. You'd better hurry up and get rid of it. The Spirit Beast Garden doesn't accept such low-grade spirit beasts. Inside the Big King's 8 shells, He Xinjia's heart moved. This disciple's words were exactly the same as what the gigolo had said. It seemed that the little bastard's mother was the savage dragon blood turtle. However, Senior Brother Wang and the others felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured on them. Their excitement instantly vanished into nothingness. At this moment, Senior Brother Wang's eyes suddenly lit up and he said, Senior Brother, although the chances of the savage dragon blood turtle awakening the distant ancestor's bloodline is very small, it is still possible. This savage dragon blood turtle cannot be put into my spirit beast pouch. This means that its grade is at least that of an immortal beast. Chapter 35-29 Your whole family is a turtle. The 2 disciples guarding the Spirit Beast Garden frowned. Apparently they didn't quite believe Senior Brother Wang's words. They looked at each other. One of them tried it but actually didn't manage to put the 8 shells of Wang into the storage ring or the Spirit Beast bag. Senior Brother Wang and the others couldn't help but feel relieved when they saw the surprised expressions on their faces. They even said that this thing wasn't qualified to enter the Spirit Beast Garden. Now you see it, right? You should be scared to death. The attitude of the 2 disciples immediately changed. One of them said, Wait a moment, I'll go and report to Elder Zhuge. After that disciple said that, he ran away as fast as a wisp of smoke. He Xinjiao, who was inside the bastard's shell, felt as if her heart was bickering with a dog. Once that Elder Zhuge came, he would definitely think of a way to get rid of this bastard's shell. At that time she would have nowhere to hide. Wouldn't she be dead? This fellow hurriedly sent a voice transmission talisman to Di Biming, asking him how long it would take for him to arrive. As short as 3 days, as long as 5 days. Think of a way to save your life first. Di Biming's reply was still very short. When He Xinjiao heard his reply, she was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Indeed, after being sealed with 7 emotions and 6 desires, she had become an ingrate. Think of a way by herself. What solution could she think of? Could she really turn herself into a big bastard? Just as He Xinjiao was gnashing her teeth in anger, she heard hurried footsteps. Then she heard an old man's voice. Are you talking about this savage dragon blood turtle? He Xinjiao cursed in her heart. You are the fucking turtle. Your whole family is a turtle, a nest of big bastards. Elder Zhuge, we found this savage dragon blood turtle in the firmament sea. At first we thought it was an empty shell, but we couldn't put it into the storage ring or the spirit beast bag. Do you think it's an immortal or divine beast? Senior Brother Wang asked in an excited tone. Elder Zhuge looked at the big bastard's shell carefully, then he smiled. This is just an empty shell of the savage dragon blood turtle. As for the fact that it can't be put into the spirit beast bag, I guess there must be a person hiding inside. What's the matter? Why aren't you coming out at this time? He Xinjiao originally knew that she wouldn't be able to fool him for long. Now that she heard that the other party had already said so much, she had no choice but to let the little bastard open the turtle shell and come out from inside. Of course, before he came out, he had already adjusted the hidden spirit ring to the first level of the spiritualization realm and had taken a disguise pill. Everyone thought Elder Zuj's words were unbelievable. How could there be someone inside? However, when they saw He Xinjiu come out, they were all stunned. Senior Brother Wang and the others in particular had an indescribable expression on their faces. They were disappointed that the bastard was not a divine beast, and they were shocked that none of them had discovered that a little girl was hiding inside. Of course, some of them were angry out of embarrassment. They looked at He Xinjiu with hostility. It was all because of this little girl that they had become the laughingstock of the entire sect. How outrageous! He Xinjiu's face was filled with gratitude. She bowed to Senior Brother Wang and the others. "Thank you for saving my life, heroes. If it weren't for the heroes, I would have died in the vault of Heaven's Sea. You are indeed worthy to be the disciples of a famous sect. You are quite chivalrous. I am truly grateful to you." Senior Brother Wang and the others' expressions were like mutts. How were they supposed to answer? Could they ask her why she was a human and not a big bastard? Chapter 35:30. The honored guest had arrived. They had originally thought that they had been lucky this time. If they had found a divine beast, they might have been promoted to inner sect disciples. Even if it was a divine beast, it would at least reward them with many sect contribution points. But now it had turned into a living person. A little girl had come out of it. It was simply like seeing a ghost. Seeing that Senior Brother Wang and the others were silent, Yun Chujiu looked at the old man at the side. After bowing, she said with a sincere face, "Elder Zhuge, I can't thank you enough for your kindness. I, Lin Chuchu, will never forget your kindness for saving my life. I will definitely repay you heavily in the future. Well, since there's nothing else, I'll take my leave now." He Xinjiu was about to run away as she spoke. What a joke. If she didn't leave now, would she be punished by others? Just as Elder Zhuge was about to say something, the sound of an ancient bell rang out. Elder Zhuge's expression changed immediately. Not only him but the rest of the people also changed their expressions. He Xinjiu did not care whether the people's expressions changed or not. She was about to run away when she heard Elder Zhuge shout, "Stop! You can leave, but not now. We will send you out of Chaotian sect after we welcome our distinguished guests." He Xinjiu was so frightened by Elder Zhuge's shout that she shivered. She cursed in her heart, "What bullshit Chaotian sect? Why wasn't it called Chaotian Pepper?" Although this fellow cursed in her heart, he nodded obediently on the surface. "Yes, I found out." Elder Zhuge was obviously not thinking about her. He said perfunctorily, "The distinguished guest will be here soon. Everyone hurry up and welcome him outside the mountain gate." Elder Zhuge glanced at He Xinjiu again. "You follow him too?" He Xinjiu felt as if a dog was bickering in her heart. She was not this so-called Chaotian Pepper. A disciple of Chaotian sect. Why would she go out? However, this guy rolled his eyes. When they were outside the mountain gate, she could take the opportunity to slip away. It would be good to follow him out. Therefore, this guy nodded obediently and followed Elder Zhuge out. Actually, it was mainly because He Xinjiu's spiritual power was too low. Therefore, whether it was Elder Zhuge or Senior Brother Wang, they didn't take her seriously and didn't think that she would dare to cause any trouble. Of course, Senior Brother Wang and the others looked at her with unkind eyes. It was only because of Elder Zhuge and He Xinjiu's flattery that they didn't flare up. He Xinjiu had saved her life for the time being, so she was in the mood to look around. At a glance, this fellow secretly clicked his tongue in his heart. Gosh, this Chaotian sect might not have a good name, but its grandeur was quite something. Although she only saw the scenery from the Spirit Beast Garden to the mountain gate, one could tell from a glimpse that this Chaotian sect wasn't simple at all. He Xinjiu also noticed that many people had rushed to the mountain gate at the same time, as if they were reincarnated. He Xinjiu cursed in her heart. What kind of important figure was it that made these people so attentive? However, this important figure had come at a bad time. If he hadn't come, perhaps Elder Zhuge would have let her go. Just because of this, she didn't have a good impression of the important figure that she was about to meet. Some of the people who rushed to the mountain gate were distracted and looked at Yun Chujiu. After all, the people of Chaotian sect had changed into the sect's attire to welcome the distinguished guests. She was the only one who was dressed differently from the others. Moreover, her spiritual power was so low that it made people's hair stand on end. Where did this little girl come from? Chapter 35-31 Tower Master Luochen Yunchujio followed Elder Zhuge to the outside of the mountain gate. At this moment the mountain gate was already filled with people. He Xinjiu estimated roughly that there were at least 10,000 people. This fellow was even more astonished in his heart. It seemed that Chaotian sect was indeed a big sect. This fellow had already learned from Xue Wuji that she was now in the northern continent of Towering Sky Continent. Although he was shocked, he was still somewhat mentally prepared. These disciples stood according to their ranks. Elder Zhuge's status in Chaotian sect was not low, so he naturally had to walk to the front row. He Xinjiu, this fellow, wanted to slip away for a while, thus she shamelessly followed behind Elder Zhuge to the front row. The people of Chaotian sect didn't know Yun Chuji's identity, but senior brother Wang and the others did. However, they were afraid of embarrassing themselves, so they didn't say anything. Thus no one objected to Yun Chujio squeezing to the front row. Elder Zhuge arrived at the front row. He was busy chatting with the sect master and the peak masters, so he forgot about the little tail behind him. A certain Jiao stood at the side of the second row with a peace of mind. She was prepared to leave after that distinguished guest entered the sect. He Xinjiu pricked up her ears to listen to the conversation of Elder Zhuge and the others. He was confused. What 9-storied pavilion, what pavilion master, what supreme chaos? Some of the female disciples behind her were also so excited that they could not extricate themselves. All they said was that they were going to meet the pavilion master. They were simply too lucky. Some even said that the pavilion master would not be here to select a concubine. Blah blah blah. He Xinjiu curled her lips. She spoke as if the pavilion master was so amazing. There was no man in the world who could compare to her gigolo. What bullshit pavilion master was not even worthy of carrying shoes for her gigolo. Just as He Xinjiu was complaining, a carriage flew over from the sky in the distance. He Xinjiu clicked her tongue in wonder. The horses pulling the carriage all had huge wings on their backs. Moreover, their entire bodies were pure white without a single strand of mixed fur. They looked quite impressive. This fellow thought bitterly in his heart. Fuck, I still have the bird team. Thinking of this fellow rubbed his nose guiltily. Oh no, he had forgotten about Big Harry and the rest. Forget it, I'll find a place for them to nest when I have the chance. However, he did not know if Big Hair and the others were so hungry that they had not fed them for half a month. The fellow hurriedly took some demon beast carcasses from the great void mystic realm and threw them into the spirit beast bag. He comforted them a few more words before looking at the carriage that was slowly descending. There was a flying spiritual device at the back of the carriage. Many guards and maids came down from it. One of the maids walked to the front of the carriage and lifted the curtain with her hand. He Xinjiu was stretching her neck to look at the people inside when she heard the people of Chaotian sect say in unison, "Greetings, Tower Master Lun." He Xinjiu was frightened by the loud greeting. However, this guy was afraid that something bad would happen to him, so he quickly lowered his head and bowed as well. "No need for formalities," a faint voice said. The Jima sect master of Chaotian sect said politely, "It's a great honor to have the pavilion master here. Please come in, pavilion master." "Sorry to disturb you," Tower Master Luochen said indifferently. He Xinjiu felt that the voice of the pavilion master sounded familiar. She raised her head and opened her mouth in surprise. A man stood in front of the carriage. His long hair was loosely tied together with a white headband. His beauty was shocking, and his deep and melancholic eyes made people want to immerse themselves in it. The others also thought so. This little bitch was really scheming. If they had known earlier, they would have worn other clothes as well. However, this little bitch's looks could be considered average. Why would Tower Master Luochen take a fancy to her? Yun Chujio felt as if there were 10,000 divine beasts roaring in her heart. Just as she was about to explain that she wasn't a member of the Chaotian sect, she heard the sect master of the Jima sect say, "All right, then let this disciple serve by your side for the next few days." Elder Zhuge came back to his senses and wanted to explain, but he swallowed his words after thinking for a while. Then he shot a threatening glance at Hei Xinjiu. Yun Chujio saw the threatening look in Elder Zhuge's eyes and she was furious. However, the situation was better than the others. If she went against him with her small body, she would be tortured. Chapter 35-33. If time can be reversed. After being warned by Elder Zhuge with his eyes, He Xinjiu had no choice but to pretend to be hit by a golden pie, but her heart was filled with misery. Tower Master Luochen said lightly, and then followed the Jima sect master into Chaotian sect. The maid who had helped Tower Master Luochen open the curtain of the carriage glanced at Yun Chujio indifferently, and the rest of the maids also glanced at Yun Chujio a few times before following her. He Xinjiu saw the disdain in the eyes of the maids and cursed in her heart. Damn it, do you think this job of serving people is a good thing? If I wasn't threatened, I wouldn't do it even if you gave me money. Elder Zhuge didn't follow the Jima sect master into the mountain gate. Instead he said to He Xinjiu, "Follow me." He Xinjiu knew what Elder Zhuge wanted to say even if she had to use her toes. However, she had no choice but to follow Elder Zhuge. This fellow's heart was filled with regret. If she could turn back time, she would have jumped into the sea. If she could turn back time, she would have found all sorts of reasons not to welcome Tower Master Luochen. If he could turn back time, she would have stood at the back and not moved forward. Elder Zhuge did not bring He Xinjiu to the Spirit Beast Garden because he was afraid that Tower Master Luochen would look for her in a while. He only found a relatively remote place and opened the isolation array. Then he said in a cold voice, "Lin Chuchu, right? Since you accidentally entered our Chaotian sect and were chosen by Tower Master Luochen, then you should dutifully accompany Tower Master Luochen to visit the Chaotian sect these few days. You must know that you are extremely lucky to be chosen by Tower Master Luochen. Don't be stingy with your blessings. Also, if anything happens to you since your life was given by our Chaotian sect, we can take it back at any time. Do you understand?" Yun Chujio sneered in her heart. Was she trying to repay a debt of gratitude? Moreover, what kind of debt was that? If she had crawled out of the turtle shell at that time, she might have already been killed and robbed of her treasure. Although this fellow thought so in his heart, he said obediently on the surface, "Chu-Chu understands. Chu-Chu will do her best to serve Tower Master Luochen." As he said this, a hint of shyness appeared on his face. Seeing this, Elder Zhuge immediately felt much more at ease with her. It was also true that all the girls wanted to be chosen by Tower Master Luochen. This Lin Chuchu would definitely not be foolish enough to give up this good opportunity. Elder Zhuge thought for a moment and said, "It would be best if Tower Master Luochen took you in." Even if Tower Master Luochen doesn't take you in, as long as you serve Tower Master Luochen well, I can promise you that after Tower Master Luochen leaves, you can enter Chaotian sect and become an outer disciple. Really? Then I'm really grateful to you. I want to become a disciple of Chaotian sect even in my dreams. I will definitely do my best to serve Tower Master Luochen well. He Xinjiu said in surprise, but her mouth twitched in her heart. "Pui. I don't care about your Chaotian pepper." Elder Zhuge nodded in satisfaction, but when he remembered that He Xinjiu knew nothing about Chaotian sect, he couldn't help but feel worried. Just as he was worried, his identity jade plate trembled. It turned out that the Jima sect master was urging him to bring He Xinjiu over quickly. Elder Zhuge had no choice but to tell the Jima sect master the whole story with a sad face. The Jima sect leader's tone was obviously a little confused. Bring it here first. Chapter 35-33. Naming the sect and killing people. He Xinjiu followed Elder Zhuge to the place where the guests were gathered. As she walked, she looked around secretly. As she looked around, she cursed in her heart that although Chaotian sect didn't have a good name, it was quite imposing. As soon as He Xinjiu entered the meeting hall, many gazes fell on her. Most of the gazes were inquisitive. After all, the people sitting in the meeting hall were all heads of Chaotian sect, and there were no envious or jealous female disciples. He Xinjiu swept her gaze across the room. The main seat was suspended in the air. Tower Master Luochen sat on the upper right, and the Jima sect master sat on the upper left. This was understandable. Although Tower Master Luochen had a high status, he was a guest after all, so it was not appropriate for him to occupy the main seat. Therefore, the Jima sect master used such a flexible seating arrangement. It had to be said that this Jima sect master was quite tactful. The Jima sect master coughed lightly, Tower Master, this Lin Chuchu is a disciple of the Spirit Beast Garden. She has just entered the sect not long ago and she doesn't know much about the sect's affairs. How about I arrange another guide for you? Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. It wasn't that she had just entered the sect not long ago, but she had just arrived today. Tower Master Luchen's gaze fell on He Xinjiu and he said indifferently, Lin Chuchu? It's the same name as an old friend of mine. He Xinjia's heart thumped. This was bad. This fake name of Lin Chuchu had been used in the Netherworld continent, so Lan Luochen naturally knew it. However, this also meant that this person was really Lan Luochen. Although he did not know how Lan Luochen recognized her since he had already said this sentence, there was a high chance that he had really recognized her. He Xinjiu was now in a dilemma. She had to reveal her identity, but she did not want to have too much to do with Lan Luochen. But if she continued to hide it since he had already recognized her, why was she still pretending? This fellow was so regretful that his intestines turned green. She should have made up a different name at that time. Why did she have to say something about Lin Chuchu? Naming a person with a useless name could kill people. At this moment, Tower Master Luochen said indifferently, however, it's impossible for her to come to the towering sky continent. It's probably just a coincidence. Hearing his words, He Xinjiu was slightly relieved. Did he not recognize her? It better be, or she really doesn't know what to do. The Jima sect leader saw that Master Luochen did not answer his previous words. She said dryly, that's a coincidence, but she just entered the sect and is not familiar with the affairs of the sect. Pavilion Master, do you need me to arrange another disciple to be your guide? Need not, it is her. Tower Master Luchen's facial expression is light. The tone is to allow no argument, however. The Jima sect master naturally didn't dare to get into trouble, so he could only force a smile and agree. He thought to himself that he still didn't know the background of this little girl, and the most important thing was that she knew nothing about Chaotian sect. He had to think of a way to make her stay and give her a good beating. Therefore, after exchanging some pleasantries, the Jima sect master asked someone to accompany Tower Master Luochen to the guest house to rest. He found a catalyst to make He Xinjiu stay, and said that he would accompany Tower Master Luochen to tour Chaotian sect the next day. The Jima sect master sat on the main seat and looked at Yun Chujio with a cold and solemn expression. He also released the pressure on his body. His idea was very simple. He wanted to intimidate He Xinjiu and show her his might first. Unfortunately, He Xinjiu didn't fall for his trick at all. The pressure was nothing to her. Moreover, this guy knew that she was still useful now. Chaotian sect wouldn't do anything to her. Chapter 35:35 The user you called was already dead. The Jima sect master thought that the little girl would be intimidated by his pressure and tremble, but who would have thought that the little girl would be fine? He could only cough dryly. Elder Zhuge has already told me what happened. Normally, trespassing into our Chaotian sect is a big crime, but seeing that you don't have any malicious intent, I won't pursue the matter with you. However, Tower Master Luochen has a high status. You can't make a single mistake. Otherwise, not only will our Chaotian sect punish you, but the 9 pavilions will also not let you off lightly. Do you understand? Yun Chujio nodded and said obediently, Don't worry, Lord Sect Leader. I will do my best to serve Tower Master Luochen. The Jima sect leader glanced at He Xinjiu and saw that she was obedient. His tone also softened. Little girl, our Chaotian sect is a famous sect. If it weren't for Tower Master Luchen's noble status, we wouldn't have made things so difficult for you. Don't worry, after Tower Master Luochen leaves, I will make the decision to let you enter the Chaotian sect as an outer disciple. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. Shameless. A famous sect. It was like being a whore and still putting up a memorial tablet. There is one more important thing. You know nothing about the Chaotian sect, so I will ask Elder Zhuge to find someone to teach you about the relevant situation of the Chaotian sect, so that you won't anger Tower Master Luochen, the Jima sect master added. Yun Chujio naturally wouldn't refuse. Besides, knowing oneself and one's enemy would win every battle. Knowing more about the situation would help her find an opportunity to escape in the future, so she obediently agreed. However, when He Xinjiu saw that Elder Zhuge had found more than a dozen disciples to introduce the situation to her, she was dumbfounded. Elder Zhuge said from the side, Chaotian sect is divided into 2 peaks, the north and the south. Each peak has its own hall and 8 gardens. Since you want to accompany Tower Master Luochen for a tour, you should know more about them. Let's start now. And so, those people began to introduce the relevant situation as if they were stuffing ducks. Hei Xingjiu thought that with her photographic memory, if it were anyone else, they would have a mental breakdown. However, even though Hei Xingjiu had memorized everything, she still pretended to know a little so as not to attract any trouble. Unexpectedly, Elder Zhuge was very satisfied. After all, for a young girl who had just arrived, it was already pretty good for her to be able to remember almost everything. Elder Zhuge brought her around Chaotian sect and finally passed the test. After all this, the sky had already turned dark. Elder Zhuge found a courtyard for an inner sect disciple to live in and let Yun Chujiu live there. Hei Xingjiu washed up briefly and let out a long breath as she lay on the bed. The bad day was finally going to end. At this moment, the voice transmission talisman started to vibrate. Hei Xingjiu took it out and saw that it was sent by Di Biming. She could not help but twitch her lips. Didn't he tell her to think of a way to survive first? Did he have a conscience? Hei Xingjiu sent her spiritual sense in. When she heard Di Biming's words, she was so angry that she almost threw the voice transmission talisman out. That was because Di Biming only said 2 words. Are you still alive? Hei Xingjiu gritted her teeth in anger. Damn it. This damn gigolo sent the voice transmission talisman just to make sure that she was still breathing? Hei Xingjiu replied unhappily, the user you are calling is dead. The guy thought that a certain someone would not reply to her, but the voice transmission talisman started to vibrate very quickly. A certain someone's cold voice came from inside. It's good that you are not dead. Just wait. Chapter 35-36 was about to go to heaven. Hei Xingjiu became even angrier after hearing that. What did he mean by not dying? Could he speak human language? This fellow thought of Lan Luochen and immediately rolled his eyes, saying, Oh right, I forgot to tell you something. A big figure came to Chaotian sect today. It's Tower Master Luochen from the 9 pavilions. He looks very powerful. I think he is Lan Luochen and he asked me to accompany him on the tour. We are old acquaintances so you don't need to rush here. I should be safe for the time being. After sending the voice transmission talisman, Hei Xingjiu curled her lips. The gigolo was a jealous man. Hearing her words he would be furious. Humph. After a while the voice transmission talisman did not respond. Hei Xingjiu curled her lips and thought to herself, see, even if the 7 emotions and 6 desires are sealed, the jealous man is still a jealous man. Just as he was thinking, the voice transmission talisman started to vibrate. Di Biming's cold voice came from it. In that case I have other things to do. I will pick you up in a few days. Hei Xingjiu, damn it. This gigolo was going to fly into the sky. This guy took out the voice transmission talisman and roared, get your ass over here right now. Otherwise I won't forgive you. Then, there was no then. Di Biming didn't reply to her at all. This guy cursed the gigolo hundreds of times before falling asleep in a daze. In a valley tens of thousands of miles away, a certain god flattened several mountain peaks one after another. Then he whispered with a cold gaze, 9-storied pavilion? Tower Master Luochen? Although he didn't know what emotions were surging in his heart, if he didn't vent them out he would explode. However, soon a certain Jiu regained his calm expression. He summoned his flying spiritual device and continued flying toward the sky sect. The next day Hei Xingjiu was still sleeping when she heard someone knocking on the door. Why are you knocking so early in the morning? I haven't woken up yet. Get lost. A certain Jiu who had woken up in a bad mood shouted angrily. Elder Zhuge who was at the door. He was stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to lose his temper, he heard an obedient voice coming from the courtyard. Elder Zhuge, I'm going out now. Please wait for me for a moment. Elder Zhuge. Was he hallucinating just now? Or was this little girl not in good spirits? Was she imagining herself to be a female emperor early in the morning? Hei Xingjiu quickly walked out of the courtyard and said with a smile, Elder Zhuge, good morning. I had a dream last night of being a female emperor. Don't you think it's very interesting? Huh. Elder Zhuge glanced at the smiling Hei Xingjiu and thought, could it be that she was talking in her sleep just now? That's right. Otherwise, how could she dare to ask him to get lost? Elder Zhuge shook his head secretly and put aside what had happened just now. He instructed, Lin Chuchu, I will send you to the guest house in a while. You must be careful. You must not seek meritorious deeds but not make mistakes. You must not offend Tower Master Lun, do you hear me? He Xinjiu obediently agreed and followed Elder Zhuge in the direction of the guest house. Along the way, He Xinjiu saw many female disciples who had dressed up meticulously. All of them looked at her with envy and jealousy, wishing that they could replace her. He Xinjiu curled her lips. These female disciples were standing by the roadside. Were they planning to have a perfect encounter? Chapter 35-37 Finally saw her again. Finally, they arrived at the guest house after many twists and turns. The guards of the 9 pavilions stood outside the courtyard. They were probably worried about the people of Chaotian sect on one hand and trying to show off on the other. Of course, He Xinjiu added the last one herself. Seeing Elder Zhuge bringing He Xinjiu here, the guards immediately went in to report and let the two in. Tower Master Luochen was sitting on a chair and drinking tea. When he saw the two of them, he said indifferently, "Thank you for your trouble, Elder Zhuge." Elder Zhuge understood the meaning of the song and immediately understood that this was to send off the guests. He tactfully took his leave. However, he was also very puzzled. Why did Tower Master Luochen take a fancy to that Lin Chuchu? In the beginning he did not know that the little girl and his old friend had the same name. It was really strange. After Elder Zhuge left, Lon Luochen only slowly sipped his tea and did not speak to He Xinjiu. He left her on the spot like a dried salted fish. The handmaidens of the 9 pavilions were originally a little jealous of her. Now that they saw that the Tower Master had left He Xinjiu on the spot, they immediately gloated over her misfortune. The handmaidens who lifted the curtain of the carriage for Tower Master Luochen looked at He Xinjiu contemptuously. They thought that the pavilion master looked at this stinky girl in a different way, but it turned out that it wasn't the case at all. It was probably because she was dressed differently from the others that the pavilion master let her be the guide. They didn't expect that this stinky girl was so unlucky to have the same name as the pavilion master's old friend. Moreover, it seemed that the old friend might be someone that the pavilion master disliked. Otherwise, the pavilion master wouldn't have left her on the spot like this. He Xinjiu naturally noticed the gloating gazes of these maids and cursed in her heart. This Lon Luochen might have been a little unhappy in the past, but at least he was still normal. Why was he acting like a lunatic now? Could it be that they had mobilized a large number of people to call her here just to leave her hanging? This fellow's heart stirred. Or could it be that he was taking revenge on her? Taking revenge on her for not responding to his feelings back then? Just as He Xinjiu's thoughts were running wild, she heard Tower Master Luochen coldly say, "Let's go." He Xinjiu subconsciously thought that Tower Master Luochen was chasing her away. This fellow immediately said eagerly, "Since Tower Master doesn't need me, then I'll take my leave." Tower Master Luochen frowned. "I'm asking you to lead the way and go somewhere else. Why? Are you very unwilling to be my guide?" He Xinjiu realized that she had misunderstood. She laughed dryly and said, "No, I was just a little nervous and misunderstood Tower Master's intention." Tower Master Luochen's eyes darkened. He didn't say anything and stood up from his seat. He Xinjiu had no choice but to learn from the experience and introduce him as she walked. Fortunately, this guy was good at lying. Even if he didn't know some parts, he still managed to deceive her. Tower Master Luochen looked at He Xinjiu's smiling face and his eyes deepened. After waiting for so long and setting up so many chess pieces, he finally saw her again. Although her appearance had changed, he would never forget her pair of crafty and intelligent eyes. Initially he was still uncertain, but after seeing her clearly unwilling but pretending to be a lackey and Lin Chuchu's fake name, he was even more certain that this was the person he had been longing for. Although his plan was a little off, he didn't expect her to arrive in the northern continent ahead of schedule, but at least he would be able to get along with her for a few days. Chapter 35-38 Wasn't the sun thinking of something? Tower Master Luochen's eyes turned sinister. If it wasn't for the fact that the time wasn't ripe, he really wanted to bring the person in front of him back to the 9 pavilions. This way he could see this smiling nightmare every day. He was still somewhat alive. Just as He Xinjiu was mumbling, she seemed to have sensed something. When she raised her head, she happened to see Tower Master Luochen's deep and sinister eyes. She couldn't help but be startled. When she looked again, those eyes had already returned to their gloomy and deep appearance. This fellow was puzzled. Could it be that he had seen wrongly just now? How dare you? Our tower master's identity is honorable. Is it something you can covet directly? The maid who lifted the curtain of the carriage reprimanded unhappily. Xingyia's heart was like 10,000 divine beasts whizzing past. Damn it, this Lan Luochen wasn't the son. Why couldn't she look directly at him? Covet? Pooey. She was not stupid, why would she covet him for no reason? Xingyi curled her lips. Sister, how did you know that I was looking straight at the pavilion master? Could it be that you were also looking straight at the pavilion master at the same time? The maid was stunned at first and then hurriedly said, You're talking nonsense. I am not. Yun Chuzhou could not be bothered with such an idiot. With such an IQ, even if her spiritual power was 100 levels higher than hers, she would still be abused. Originally, Yun Chuzhi's questions were full of loopholes. This maid only needed to answer that she had been watching Yun Chuzhi's actions, so she could have realized that Yun Chuzhi was looking directly at the tower master. However, Yun Chuzhi just had to admit that she denied it. There was simply no silver in this place. Tower Master Luochen said coldly, Xingyu, that's enough. Xingyu, who was also the maid, heard the impatience in Tower Master Luochen's tone. Her face immediately turned red and she bit her lips tightly, finally hating Xingyi. Xingyi naturally knew that she was being targeted. She became more vigilant and continued to be a competent guide with a smile. Tower Master Luochen listened with a cold expression, but his eyes were less gloomy. However, when he saw Xingyu, a sense of disgust flashed through his heart. However, when he thought of some things, he forcefully suppressed this disgust in his heart. When she passed by the North Peak cafeteria, Xingyi smelled the aroma of the food and immediately felt that she could eat a cow. She was woken up by Elder Zhuge in the morning and didn't have time to eat breakfast. It was already noon, so how could she not be hungry? Especially today. Perhaps it was because she had walked a lot, so she felt even more hungry. This fellow blinked his eyes and said to Tower Master Luochen, Tower Master, this is the North Peak cafeteria. There are a few special dishes that are very delicious. Why don't you go in and try them? Before Tower Master Luochen could say anything, Xingyu said with disdain, Our Tower Master usually eats delicacies. Why would he go to such a lousy place to eat? Xingyu's words stopped abruptly because Tower Master Luochen had already walked into the canteen. Xingyu stomped her feet angrily. Although Tower Master Luochen had always been cold and indifferent to her, at least her position was unique among these maids. But today she was ignored one after another. All of this was because of that damn Lin Chuchu. When Xingyu entered the canteen, Tower Master Luochen was already sitting at a single table. The disciples who were originally eating in the canteen were suddenly overwhelmed by the favor and stood up. Especially some female disciples. They wanted to go up and get the attention of Tower Master Luochen, but they were also a little timid and shy, whispering to each other to encourage each other. As for that damn Lin Chuchu, he picked up a piece of meat with chopsticks and put it into his mouth. While eating, he said shamelessly, Tower Master Loom, let me help you taste the dishes in case there are any bad things. Chapter 35-39. Xingyi, whose appetite had greatly increased, Xingyu saw the scene in front of her and immediately gloated. Although their pavilion master had a cold personality, he was most afraid of others touching his tea set and dishes. This Lin Chuchu actually thought so highly of herself and helped their pavilion master taste the dishes? She was really stupid. Their pavilion master would definitely get angry. She might even ask Chao Donsek to punish this Lin Chuchu so that she could vent her anger. The other handmaidens of the 9 pavilions had the same thought. They gloated at Xingyi, who was enjoying her meal. Xingyi felt that she was so hungry that she didn't have time to look at them. No matter what, she had to fill her stomach first. After tasting all the dishes on the table, although she was still hungry, she knew that it was enough. Thus he said with a smile, Tower Master, these dishes are all fine. You can eat without worry. Xingyu almost laughed out of schadenfreude. This Lin Chuchu really didn't know whether he was dead or alive. She used chopsticks to pull the dishes and still wanted to let Tower Master eat them? Tower Master was definitely going to be furious this time. This Lin Chuchu really did a good job. Who would have thought that Tower Master Luochen would pick up his chopsticks and actually eat slowly? He even said to them, You guys eat too. Not only Xingyu, but all the maids of the 9 pavilions were dumbfounded. Was the pavilion master possessed by a ghost? Not only did he not punish that Lin Chuchu, he actually let them eat too? One had to know that the pavilion master was usually busy, so how could he care about the servants eating and not eating? Could it be because of that Lin Chuchu? Perhaps they had all guessed wrong. That old friend called Lin Chuchu was not someone the pavilion master hated, but could it be someone the pavilion master liked? Hei Xingju did not have the time to think about things. She only felt that she was going to starve to death, so she called the servants in the canteen to serve a table full of food, and then began to eat like a whirlwind. Everyone was stunned to see Hei Xingju eating and drinking there. How could this little girl eat so much? Her appetite was almost the same as the 3 men's. Tower Master Luochen also looked at Hei Xingju thoughtfully. He frowned slightly, and his gaze could not help but fall on Hei Xingju's lower abdomen. Could it be that she? Tower Master Luochen thought of a possibility, and his expression immediately became extremely gloomy. He suddenly stood up, walked to Yun Chujia's side and grabbed her arm. All of this happened too suddenly. Hei Xingju was not prepared at all. She only looked at Tower Master Luochen in confusion when her wrist was grabbed. Tower Master Luochen's hand was pressing on Hei Xingju's pulse. A sense of relief flashed in his eyes, and then he let go of Yun Chujia's hand. Tower Master Luochen's hand still had a trace of softness. He clenched his hand under his sleeve and said coldly, "Let's go. Let's go somewhere else." Hei Xingju was dumbfounded. Was this Lan Luochen crazy? Why did he come to grab her wrist for no reason? Could it be that he wanted to take advantage of her? She didn't believe it when she thought of this. Although this Lan Luochen seemed to be in a bad mood, he didn't look like a lecher no matter how she looked at him. He must have forgotten his current identity in a moment of impatience. However, speaking of which, how did this Lan Luochen suddenly become the Tower Master of 9 pavilions? Although Hei Xingju was full of doubts, she still followed Tower Master Luochen out of the canteen. Chapter 3540 was really not a joyous pulse. Xingyu glared at Yun Chujia's back fiercely, wishing that she could go up and kill her right now. Everyone in the 9 pavilions knew that the pavilion master's personality was cold and distant towards everyone, not to mention any physical contact. He had actually grabbed Lin Chuchu's wrist just now. This Lin Chuchu must not be spared. Seeing the viciousness on Xingye's face, the other serving girls were afraid of being blamed, so they all carefully left the canteen. Xingyu gritted her teeth and also raised her leg to chase after him. The afternoon went smoothly. Hei Xingju's mouth was dry from talking, but not long after her stomach was hungry again. No matter how slow this fellow was, he still felt that something was wrong. Why did his appetite suddenly become bigger? If it wasn't for the fact that she and the gigolo hadn't had sex yet, he might have thought that she was pregnant. Thinking of this, he recalled the time when Lan Luochen grabbed his wrist. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Lan Luochen was checking her pulse? Did he think that she was pregnant? Thinking of this, Hei Xingju's thick skin couldn't help but turn red. She felt that she was thinking too much. Whether she was pregnant or not, it had nothing to do with Lan Luochen. Xingyu, who was at the side, saw Yun Chujia's face suddenly turn red. She felt even more resentful. This bitch must be coveting the Tower Master in her heart. She really deserved to die. Tower Master Luochen saw the redness on Yun Chujia's face, and his eyes flashed with passion. He couldn't wait to bring her back to the 9-storied pavilion immediately. However, when he thought of something, his eyes turned malicious. He said coldly to Yun Chujiu, "Let's call it a day. You can go back. You can go to the guest house tomorrow morning." Hei Xingju couldn't wait to leave and have a big meal. She nodded immediately, bowed to him perfunctorily, and then ran towards the canteen. Xingyu was stunned. She thought that Lin Chuchu would cling on to the Tower Master, but she didn't expect her to leave so easily. Humph, maybe she was playing hard to get this bitch. Tower Master Luochen saw Xingye's fierce expression and said lightly, "We are here for an important matter. If anyone tries to cause trouble, don't blame me for being impolite." Xingyu and the other handmaidens were shocked and quickly said, "Yes." Xingyu was delighted. Yes, they came here to do something. Could it be that the Tower Master deliberately treated Lin Chuchu differently in order to attract others' attention? It must be so. Could it be that the Pavilion Master had explained his words to her? Was he afraid that she would misunderstand? When Xingyu thought of this, the resentment in her heart disappeared, and there was even a hint of sweetness. When Tower Master Luochen saw her expression, a hint of disgust and impatience flashed in his eyes. However, in order to prevent her from finding trouble with Yun Chujio, he could only do this. On the other side, He Xingjiu ate her fill in the canteen and then left the canteen under everyone's astonished gazes. After this fellow returned to his temporary courtyard, he rubbed his stomach and pondered. Why did his appetite suddenly increase? Could it be that it was Guai Chao's doing? Guai Chao was aggrieved and hurriedly shook its leaves. What it ate were all spiritual medicines or poisons. It wasn't a good-for-nothing, so how could it eat so many useless things? Yun Chujio saw the Guai Chao denying it and thought to herself, when did I sleep with the gigolo? Or was it because the gigolo took advantage of me while I was asleep? This guy quickly checked his pulse several times and finally came to a conclusion that it was really not a happy pulse. Chapter 3541 Wouldn't eat it too, right? He Xingji was dumbfounded. If it wasn't because of Shimai or Go Weiba, then how did she become a good-for-nothing all of a sudden? Just as this fellow was puzzled, the little black bird inside the spirit beast pouch said, Master, Curly Hair said that he knows the reason. He said that the reason why you are like this is because of Dehua. Because the nightmare beast did not sign a contract with Hei Xingjiu, Xiao Hanio could only send a message to Meng Yanshou. Yun Chujio was dumbfounded. It was true that Dehua was a Tao Tai, but what did it have to do with her? Curly Hair said that Dehua is your spiritual beast, so you will be affected by it to a certain extent. And as Dehua's strength increases, the influence will become more and more intense. Cough cough, it also said that in the future not only will you eat food, but you may also eat a lot of things into your stomach such as trees, grass, demonic beasts and even eat people. Xiao Hanio's tone was a little shaky. Emma, in the future would Master He Xian eat it too? He Xingjia's mind was blank and then she had the urge to roar. What the hell, what was going on? There was a strange grass growing in her dantian, so she had to eat some poison whenever she was free. Most importantly, it was because of this damn dogtail that she couldn't have sex with Go Weiba. Now even a good spiritual beast could affect her. So her gluttony wasn't because of the little beggar's experience in her previous life, but because of that damn Dehua? According to Curly Hair, wouldn't she become a human-shaped Tao Tai in the future? The more he thought about it, the more miserable he became. He said angrily, damn it, is there anything more miserable than me in this world? How can I get these two damn things out? Xiao Hanio said weakly, Master, Curly Hair said that Guai Chao and Dehua are based on your dantian. Unless you destroy your dantian, you won't be able to get rid of them. Hearing this, Yun Chujio was even more furious. Destroy her dantian. In this place where the strong were respected, if she lost her dantian, what was the difference between her and death? Just as He Xingjiu was feeling depressed, Xiao Hanio said, Master, Curly Hair said that there is actually a flexible way. Guai Chao can be appeased with pills, and Dehua can be appeased with spiritual stones and the power of lightning. Dehua probably hasn't eaten for a long time, so he reminded you. Yun Chujio, why did she feel like she was being teased by Meng Yanshou? This guy didn't care if he was discovered. He released Meng Yanshou from the spiritual beast bag and gave him a good beating. You Curly Hair. Speak, are you trying to scare me? If you don't tell me the truth, I'll change your shell into a toad and a female. Meng Yanshou said pitifully, Little fairy, although I made it sound serious, I didn't scare you. If you don't feed the Dehua spirit stones or the lightning power to it, it can only let you eat it to gain some spiritual energy. He Xingjiu beat Meng Yanshou again and Meng Yanshou finally broke down. It wailed, Little fairy, you're not supposed to be like this. I was kind enough to answer your questions, but you beat me up. I don't love you anymore. He Xingjiu touched her nose guiltily. Alright, she was venting her anger just now. Moreover, Meng Yanshou was not afraid of being beaten up. At worst, she could give it a new body, so she let it go. In the end, He Xingjiu comforted Meng Yanshou for a while and rewarded it with a few storybooks. Meng Yanshou finally stopped. Chapter 3542. Little Sister Jiu is here. He Xingjiu comforted Meng Yanshou and rubbed her hungry stomach. She had no choice but to let Dehua out. Then she took out some spirit stones and said fiercely, You foodie. Eat. Although Dehua did not turn black, she was not slow in eating spirit stones. The spirit stones that He Xinjiu threw on the ground all went into Dehua's stomach in the blink of an eye. He Xinjia's heart ached. She had swindled and swindled these spiritual stones. She had worked hard to earn these spiritual stones. According to Dehua's method of eating, she would soon become a pauper. The fellow was in great pain as he took stock of his wealth. When his spiritual sense swept across the mountain of spiritual stones, his eyes immediately lit up. She had never had the chance to refine these spiritual stones into spiritual stones. She wondered if she could feed them to Dehua. Therefore the fellow took out a large piece of spiritual ore and threw it in front of Dehua. Dehua, come. Master will give you some raw and natural good stuff. Eat it. Dehua's small eyes narrowed. Then she turned her head and glanced at Yun Chujiu with disdain, but she still began to eat. Seeing that Dehua could really eat those spiritual ores, Yun Chujiu immediately felt relieved. At least she could hold on for a while more. Otherwise she could not afford to feed this glutton. Dehua kept eating until He Xinjiu was about to cry. Dehua was finally full. He looked at He Xinjiu arrogantly and then disappeared. He Xinjiu cursed for hundreds of times and felt a little better. At this time the sky was completely dark. He Xinjiu washed up briefly and then lay on the bed. In her daze, the sound transmission talisman started to vibrate. He Xinjiu took it out and saw that it was Di Baiming's. She snorted coldly and sent her spiritual perception into it. A calm voice came from inside. I just want to confirm whether you are still alive. There's no need to reply. He Xinjiu, damn it, it was intolerable. This gigolo was simply a psychopath. If you don't want to reply, then don't reply. Why must I reply? Gigolo, my appetite suddenly increased today. What do you think is going on? After a while, there was no response from the voice transmission talisman. He Xinjiu thought that the gigolo must be confused. Humph. He must have been scared to death. Finally, the voice transmission talisman rang. He Xinjiu could not wait to send her spiritual perception in. A cold voice came from inside. You're either hungry or you're hungry. You should focus on your cultivation when you're eating. Otherwise, I'll have to save you all the time. He Xinjiu, how could they still have a good chat? Damn it, the love boat between her and the gigolo had completely turned upside down. In a fit of anger, He Xinjiu did not reply to the certain being. She gnawed on a few spirit fruits angrily before falling asleep. On the other side, a certain deity on the flying spirit tool looked indifferent as if nothing had caught his attention. However, when he was cultivating, He Xinjiu's words kept echoing in his mind. For some reason, a certain deity felt somewhat irritated. He opened his eyes and was silent for a moment. He took out Shui Wuji's voice transmission talisman and asked, "What's going on with a woman's sudden increase in appetite?" Shui Wuji and Enfeng were left in the East Phoenix country's camp by Di Baiming. Enfeng and Shui Wuji had just finished discussing the battle and were having dinner. When Shui Wuji heard Di Baiming's words, he almost spat out a mouthful of rice. He said to Enfeng, who was dumbfounded, "Little madman, little sister Jiu is pregnant." Chapter 35-43. He's going to be a father? Enfeng looked at Shui Wuji with a dumbfounded expression. You're pregnant? What's pregnant? Is Miss Jiu in danger? What do you mean by in danger? Little sister Jiu is pregnant. He did not expect that guy with facial paralysis to be a hypocrite. He even said that he had sealed the 7 emotions and 6 desires. If he had sealed the 7 emotions and 6 desires, where would the child in little sister Jiu's stomach come from? Shui Wuji curled his lips and said. Although Shui Wuji knew that there was a Guai Chao in Yun Chujia's stomach, he was not too clear about the specifics. Therefore he did not know that Di Baiming and He Xinjiu had yet to have sex. Moreover, a certain honored master would not foolishly spread such a private matter everywhere. Therefore, when Shui Wuji heard Di Baiming's voice transmission talisman, his first reaction was that He Xinjiu had it. Enfeng was completely dumbfounded. No wonder their venerable left in a hurry. So it was Miss Jiu who was pregnant? Shui Wuji was so excited that he hurriedly took out Di Baiming's voice transmission talisman and said slyly, "Are you talking about little sister Jiu? He must be pregnant. Congratulations, congratulations. You're going to be a father." On the other end, a certain venerable who received Shui Wuji's voice transmission talisman was instantly frozen. Pregnant? How could she be pregnant? They had never done that kind of thing before. How could they be pregnant all of a sudden? That trash Shui Wuji must be spouting nonsense. A certain someone put away the voice transmission talisman and decided to ignore this matter and continue cultivating. However, the thoughts that popped up in his mind were that little Jew was pregnant and he was going to be a father. He clenched his fists in frustration. Although he knew that it was impossible for He Xingjiu to be pregnant, he was still very frustrated. In the end, he took out He Xingjiu's voice transmission talisman and asked, "Why did your appetite suddenly increase?" In her sleep, He Xingjiu noticed that the voice transmission talisman was trembling. When she took it out and heard a certain lord's words, she curled her lips and said, "Guess." A certain honored guest knew that he wouldn't be able to get anything out of her. The cold air emanating from his body made the cabin feel as cold as winter, but he couldn't explain why he was so angry. It was as if he had seen a ghost. The next morning, while He Xingjiu was still asleep, the sound of knocking on the door came from the door. Just as He Xingjiu was about to explode, she suddenly remembered that she was in Chaotian sect, so she suppressed her anger and asked, "Who is it?" "Lin Chuchu, it's getting late. You should get up to serve Tower Master Luochen." Elder Ziji's voice came from the door. He Xingjiu cursed in her heart. Was this Elder Zhuge so bored that his balls hurt? A dignified elder actually came to wake her up so early in the morning. He was simply sick. Although she was ridiculing him, He Xingjiu still said obediently, "So it's Elder Zhuge. Please wait for a moment." Elder Zhuge was actually feeling helpless in his heart. He didn't want to do such an undignified thing. But who asked him to bring Lin Chuchu outside the mountain gate? If she made a mistake, he wouldn't be able to get away with it, so he could only come over and urge her. Just as he was thinking, the gate of the courtyard opened, and Lin Chuchu walked out with a big meat bun in her mouth. Elder Ziji's eyes twitched and he asked, "Although everything went smoothly yesterday, we can't slack off today. We must serve the pavilion master wholeheartedly. Do you hear me?" He Xingjiu finished the bun in her hand in 2 or 3 bites before she nodded and said, "Yes, I understand. We'll go over now." Chapter 3544 was also a good place to enjoy the scenery. Elder Zhuge wanted to give a few more instructions, but He Xingjiu had already waved her claws and walked toward the guest house. Seeing this, Elder Zhuge had no choice but to swallow his words. He prayed to the gods and Buddhas in his heart that nothing should happen to him. He Xingjiu gnawed on the meat buns as she walked. It was a quiet morning in Chaotian sect, so it was a good place to enjoy the scenery. She made several turns and arrived at the entrance of the guest house. Just as she was about to enter, she was stopped by the guards. He Xingjiu didn't panic. She simply explained her purpose for coming, and then a guard went in to report. After a while, the guard came out and said to He Xingjiu, "Miss Xing, you said that you should wait here for now." He Xingjiu couldn't wait to see Tower Master Luochen, so she nodded and went to the open space beside the guest house. She took out a recliner and basked in the sun leisurely. In the guest courtyard, Xingyu sent away the guard who came in to report and revealed a sneer. Although the Tower Master was most likely using Lin Chuchu as a cover, she just didn't like that Lin Chuchu. Although she couldn't deal with her openly, the Tower Master wouldn't say anything even if she used a little trick. Xingyu walked into the bedroom and Tower Master Luochen had already woken up. Although he didn't like to be too close to others, he still allowed maids to do things like helping to pass clothes and face scarves. These jobs that were closest to Tower Master Luochen were naturally Xingyu's privileges. The other maids didn't dare to compete with her. After Xingyu served Tower Master Luochen to clean his face, she began to ask the other maids to prepare breakfast. These meals were brought from the 9 pavilions, and they didn't even bother to eat Chaotian sect's food. Xingyu saw the breakfast and thought of yesterday's incident at noon. She couldn't help but hate He Xingjiu more and more. If it wasn't for that slut, Tower Master wouldn't have condescended to eat those low-quality meals in the cafeteria. Tower Master Luochen ate his breakfast elegantly, but his eyes looked out of the door. His spiritual power was superb. Although he was in the bedroom, he still heard the conversation between Xingyu and the guard. Although he couldn't bear it, he didn't want to bring more trouble to Yun Chujiu, so he could only pretend that he didn't know anything. He was absent-minded during the meal. Although he wanted to go out and see her right away, he deliberately delayed for a while and then asked coldly, "Why isn't Lin Chuchu here yet?" Xingyu, who was at the side, had a flash of calculation in her eyes. She said gently, maybe she hasn't woken up yet. I'll send someone to call her. However, this Lin Chuchu was really too much. Since she was arranged to be your guide, she should do her duty. It was really unappreciative of her to ask someone to invite her. Tower Master Luo Chen said calmly, she's just a chess piece. Don't be so calculative. Send someone to call her here. She's going to visit Chaotian sect today. Xingyu was in a good mood when she heard Tower Master Luo Chen's words. She said with a smile, yes, Tower Master. Xingyu walked out of the courtyard with a smug look. She thought she would see Lin Chuchu walking around anxiously outside, but she didn't expect that little girl to sit on the recliner, munching on melon seeds and humming a tune. She felt very uncomfortable. Xingyu snorted coldly and walked to He Xinjiu. She said fiercely, follow me in a while. You should think about what you should say or not. Otherwise you won't get a good result. Chapter 35:45. You pretend, I pretend. He Xinjiu glanced at Xingyu and said, yes, I know, Sister Xingyu. Seeing that He Xinjiu was sensible and afraid that Tower Master Luo Chen would be anxious, Xingyu snorted and said, go in later and tell him that you just arrived. Do you hear me? He Xinjiu nodded and said, yes, I understand. Xingyu then brought He Xinjiu into the courtyard and said gently, Tower Master Lin Chuchu is here. Tower Master Luo Chen glanced at He Xinjiu and didn't ask anything. He only said indifferently, let's go. Lead the way. He Xinjiu nodded and the group left the guest house. After returning last night, He Xinjiu had figured out that Lan Luo Chen must have recognized her. Otherwise he wouldn't have gone to the canteen to check her pulse when he saw that she was hungry. However, since he didn't expose her, she was happy to continue acting. Why not pretend to be someone else? Along the way, He Xinjiu dutifully introduced them. Tower Master Luo Chen rarely spoke. He only listened to Yun Chujia's chattering, and there was a hint of affection in his eyes. The morning passed without a ripple. At noon, Tower Master Luo Chen said indifferently, yesterday's lunch was pretty good. Let's go to the canteen. Xingyu was stunned, but when she thought of what Tower Master Luo Chen had said yesterday, she could only swallow her words and looked at He Xinjiu with an unfriendly expression. Because she had already fed De Hua, He Xinjiu was not very hungry today, not to mention that this guy had eaten 4 big meat buns in the morning. However, it was good to go to the canteen to rest. She had been kissing for the whole morning and her mouth was dry. Therefore, this fellow brought Tower Master Luo Chen and the others to the canteen. This fellow thought that when the people in the canteen saw Tower Master Luo Chen coming again, they would be pleasantly surprised and enthusiastic. As expected, when the people in the canteen saw Tower Master Luo Chen coming again, they were all very excited, especially those female disciples. They wished they could jump into Tower Master Luo Chen's arms and beg for his favor. However, apart from these voices, He Xinjiu also saw many people pointing at her. Look. That foodie came again yesterday. It's true. She ate 5 men's meals last night. She can really eat. I bet she can eat 6 people's meals today. How can 6 people be enough? I bet 7. 8. 10. He Xinjiu, damn it, did these people treat her like a pig? Didn't she just eat a little too much yesterday afternoon and evening? Did these people have to look at her like that? Since it was like that, the food in the canteen was free and the taste was pretty good. She wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Therefore, when the Tower Master Luo Chen ordered them to eat, this guy ordered enough food for 10 people. Now, not only the servants in the canteen paid attention to her, but some disciples of Chaotian sect also paid attention to Tower Master Luo Chen. He Xinjiu didn't take these gazes seriously at all. He picked up the food she liked and ate some. Then she packed up the rest of the food, including the plates and plates of the canteen. This fellow mocked himself. There was nothing he could do. He was poor now. She could save as much as she could. The handyman in the canteen was instantly dumbfounded. Although the disciples of the Chaotian sect occasionally packed things up, this person had packed too much, right? And she even packed up their cutlery. Chapter 35:46. Attending the banquet, the servants in the canteen wanted to ask for cutlery, but they were afraid of Tower Master Luo Chen. so they could only watch He Xinjiu swagger out of the canteen. Tower Master Luochen naturally saw He Xinjiu's behavior, and a fleeting smile flashed across his eyes. It was great. As long as little Jiu was by his side, his heart would feel warm. Just as he left the cafeteria, he met Elder Zhuge. Tower Master Sect Leader Jima has prepared a banquet. I hope you can attend it. Elder Zhuge said politely. Tower Master Luochen didn't refuse and nodded in agreement. The two of them exchanged some pleasantries before Elder Zhuge left. He Xinjiu didn't take it to heart. This banquet had nothing to do with her. After accompanying him for a while, she could return to the dormitory. Unexpectedly, when He Xinjiu was about to suggest leaving in the evening, Tower Master Luochen said, "You should also attend the banquet. I can ask you if there's anything I don't understand." He Xinjiu really wanted to yell at him. She had just arrived, all right. She did not know what he did not understand, all right. However, He Xinjiu knew that even if she refused, Elder Zhuge would still take her away even if he tied her up, so she could only nod and agree. Xing Ye's face darkened, but when she thought of Tower Master Luchen's arrangement, she could only suppress the jealousy in her heart and glared at Yun Chujiu fiercely. He Xinjiu was feeling aggrieved. When she saw Xingyu glaring at her, she immediately pretended to be puzzled and said, "Sister Xingyu, why are you glaring at me? Don't you want me to attend the dinner party?" Xing Ye's face stiffened and she said through gritted teeth, "You are mistaken. This is the order of the Pavilion Master. I have no objections. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site." Thanks. He Xinjiu blinked her eyes and replied with an OH. Then she did not say anything. Xingyu felt that she could not vent her anger. She wished that she could kill He Xinjiu to vent her anger. He Xinjiu could not be bothered with her. She brought a group of people to the meeting hall. Although Chaotian sect had a special place for holding banquets, in order to make it more prestigious, the banquet was still held in the meeting hall. Just like the last time, the main seat was suspended in the air. Tower Master Luochen sat on the upper right and the Jima sect master sat on the upper left, followed by the brains of Chaotian sect. However, unlike the first meeting, there were some young and beautiful female disciples in the meeting hall this time. All of them had obviously dressed up meticulously, and their gazes were vaguely directed at Tower Master Luochen. He Xinjiu couldn't help but twitch her lips. Was this Jima sect master planning to change his job to matchmaker? The Jima sect master said a few polite words, and then gestured for someone to serve the dishes. On such an occasion, He Xinjiu naturally didn't have the qualifications to sit. This fellow and Xingyu stood behind Tower Master Luochen, helping him pour wine or cloth dishes. Of course, Xingyu definitely wouldn't let He Xinjiu do these things, so He Xinjiu was just a decoration standing there to watch the show. This guy was very curious. Since the Jima sect leader had taken those beautiful female disciples, he naturally had a plan, but he didn't know how to pimp or no matchmaker. After drinking a few rounds of wine, the Jima sect leader smiled and said, "Pavilion Master, as you can see, there are quite a few female disciples of our sect in the main hall today. These female disciples are not bad in terms of looks, aptitude and family background. They also admire Pavilion Master and want to offer some talents. Please appraise them, Pavilion Master." Chapter 3547 was just so He Xinjiu couldn't help but give the Jima sect leader a thumbs up in her heart. This old man was really smooth when it came to handling matters. He was clearly a pimp, yet he said it was a performance. Tower Master Luochen nodded lightly, but he didn't object. Those female disciples were instantly overjoyed. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If they could be chosen by Tower Master Luochen, even if they couldn't marry him as his wife, even if they were concubines, it would still be good. Thus they all tried their best. Some were playing the zither, some were dancing the sword, and some were singing. It was simply a dazzling sight. Just as He Xinjiu was enjoying it, the voice transmission talisman in her storage ring started to vibrate. He Xinjiu took it out under her sleeve to take a look. It was from Di Baiming. This guy curled his lips. Gigolo, he finally couldn't hold it in anymore, right? This guy thought that Di Baiming was asking about the increase in her appetite yesterday. He didn't expect that Di Baiming's cold voice could be heard after he sent his spiritual sense in. It's good that you're alive. You don't have to go back. He Xinjiu, this guy was immediately enraged. He blinked his eyes and said with a carefree smile, "Not only am I alive, but am also living quite comfortably. I have food and drink and there are people dancing with swords and playing the zither. It's so wonderful." On the other side, a certain venerable could not help but frown when he heard Zingius reply. There was food and drink? Playing the sword and zither? He immediately recalled the scene in his memory where the little rascal and Lon Luochen were chatting and laughing while drinking tea. Could it be that Lon Luochen was playing the sword and zither for the little rascal at this moment? After the certain venerable imagined the scene, he suddenly felt that he was in a bad mood. What no desires, no calm, no waves, everything was a ghost. It was as if there was a fire burning in his chest, followed by intense pain in his limbs and bones. He gritted his teeth and could only sit down cross-legged, once again sealing the 7 emotions and 6 desires that were almost unsealed. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. After a long time, a certain being opened his eyes, his gaze as cold as ice. However, when he thought of the scene that he imagined earlier, his face still darkened. Someone actually dared to covet my woman. He was really courting death. Yes, it was precisely because of this reason that he was angry. It was not because of jealousy or anything like that. Yes, that was it. He took out the voice transmission talisman, but he did not know what to say. In the end he said coldly, "Stay away from him." At this time the banquet was already nearing its end. He Xingjiu was still enjoying it at the beginning. Ever since she received Di Biming's voice transmission talisman, her interest had waned. Feeling the vibration of the voice transmission talisman, she sent her spiritual sense in and heard Di Biming's voice. She pouted. She wanted to stay away from Lon Luochen, but she couldn't help it now. So this guy replied in a bad mood, "If you don't come to save me, how can I stay away from him?" "Wait. The flowers that I've been waiting for are all gone. When will you arrive?" "Tomorrow." Zingius' lips curled up when she heard that Di Biming would arrive tomorrow. She really didn't want to stay in Chaotian sect for a moment. It was still her female emperor of magnificence who was at ease and awe-inspiring. She didn't want to be at the beck and call of others here. However, when she thought of the strength of Chaotian sect and Lon Luochen, she asked worriedly, "Be careful. The people here are not simple. I'll describe the terrain map to you tonight." A moment later, a faint voice came from the sound transmission talisman. "Them? They are just ordinary people." Chapter 35-48. Don't go back tonight. He Xingjiu curled her lips. Although the gigolo was quite powerful and he might be able to fight one-on-one, there were so many people here. No matter how powerful he was no match for him. However, this guy knew that he could not hurt his man's pride, so he said with a smile, "Prince Charming, I knew you were the most powerful. I'll wait for you. Come give me a kiss." Soon, the sound transmission talisman vibrated and Di Biming's cold voice came from it. "Nonsense." Yun Chujio curled her lips. Although it was only 4 words, she still heard a hint of arrogance. This guy curled his lips. There was nothing she could do. She liked the arrogance of a gigolo. He was like an angry kitten. He looked powerful, but in fact he was obedient when she touched his fur. Tower Master Luochen saw Zingius' small movements from the corner of his eyes. Seeing her sudden joy and anger, his eyes immediately darkened, and the wine glass in his hand instantly shattered into powder. Everyone looked at him. The female disciple who was playing the zither was so scared that she almost knelt on the ground. Was it because she played too poorly? Tower Master Luochen tightened his hands under his sleeves and said indifferently, "I'm sorry. I was absorbed in listening and used too much strength." The female disciple's mood instantly rose to heaven. She blushed and nodded to Tower Master Luochen before continuing to play. Finally the banquet ended. Just when He Xingjiu was about to go back to her courtyard, Tower Master Luochen said coldly, "Don't go back tonight. Just stay in the guest house." He Xingjiu was dumbfounded. What? Let her stay in the guest courtyard at night? What did Lon Luochen mean? Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. Xingyu panicked and said hurriedly, "Tower Master, the rooms in the guest courtyard are all full. Let her return to her own courtyard." Xingye's words stopped abruptly because she was so shocked by the gloomy aura of Tower Master Luochen that she was covered in cold sweat. He couldn't even speak. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Several plans flashed through her mind quickly, but there seemed to be no other way except to agree. So she nodded. Thank you, Tower Master Luchan. Seeing that she agreed, Tower Master Luchan's expression eased up a little. He lifted his leg and walked toward the guest courtyard. Xingyu couldn't care less about the cold sweat on her head. She gave Yun Chujio a warning glance, her eyes like a poisonous snake. Yun Chujio sneered in her heart. Damn it, why are you staring at me? I don't want to go. She didn't want to have too much to do with Lan Luochen in the first place, and now she didn't want to have any ties with him. Because she inexplicably felt that although the current Tower Master Luochen was Lan Luochen, the original Lan Luochen was only a little depressed, but now he was simply gloomy and even a little paranoid. Even though He Xingjie was unwilling, she still came to the guest house. Outside the guest house there were still 3 layers of guards. Seeing these guards, He Xingjie's heart jumped. Could it be that Lan Luochen knew that the pretty boy was coming to save her, so he let her stay in the guest house? Because the guest house was heavily guarded, the pretty boy could not succeed? Everyone entered the living room. After Tower Master Luochen took a seat, he resumed his usual expression and said coldly, Xingyu, move to Tao Shue's room and vacate your room for her. Xingyu couldn't believe her ears. The other maids were all living in a room of 4 people. She had always lived alone, but now she was asked to vacate her room for Lin Chuchu. Chapter 3549 was beaten into a pig's head. Xingyu almost squeezed out a word from between her teeth. Yes. Tower Master Luochen looked at He Xingjie again and said indifferently, you can stay here for the next few days. If you need anything, just look for Xingyu. Although He Xingjie was unwilling, she had no choice but to agree. She originally thought that Tower Master Luochen would instruct her on other things. Unexpectedly, he waved his hand, indicating that everyone could leave. He Xingjie couldn't wait to leave, so she followed Xingyu to a side room next to the main room. After entering the room, Xingyu's face suddenly turned ferocious. Bitch, you'd better recognize your own identity or you won't know how you died. Yun Chujio had been swallowing her anger for the past few days and she was forced to live here today. She was already very annoyed, but now that Xingyu was jumping around in front of her, her eyes suddenly turned dark. She stared at Xingyu coldly and said, either kneel down and apologize, or I'll beat you until you kneel down and apologize. Choose one. Xingyu couldn't believe what she had heard. This trash of Chaotian sect actually dared to threaten her? Was she out of her mind? Bitch, say it again. Yun Chujie didn't want to waste her breath. She knew that her spiritual power was not as high as Xingyu's, so she had Xiao Hanio curse her. While Xingyu was staggering, Xiao Hanio jumped forward and first restrained her spiritual power, then gave her a good beating. When the maids outside heard the woman's scream from inside the room, they subconsciously thought that Xingyu was dealing with Yun Chujio, so they pretended not to hear it. When Tower Master Luochen heard the scream, he immediately stood up, but he sat back down. A smile flashed in his eyes. It was indeed the little Jew that he was familiar with. She was never willing to suffer any losses. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. It was not until 15 minutes later, when the handmaidens realized that something was wrong with the voice, that they pushed open the door and barged in. They saw that Xingyu's face was swollen like a pig's head. She was kneeling on the ground in a very sorry state. Lin Chuchu sat upright on the chair with a smile. When he saw everyone come in, he sighed and said, sigh. Sister Xingyu insisted on apologizing to me just now. He slapped herself. I couldn't stop her. Now she's even kneeling down for me. Hurry up and help her up. I feel really bad. The handmaidens were all dumbfounded. They naturally didn't believe Yun Chujie's nonsense. Other things aside, there were many footprints on Xingyu's clothes. Could it be that she was the one who kicked her? This Lin Chuchu was too bold. Although this Xingyu was a handmaiden, she wasn't an ordinary handmaiden. This Lin Chuchu's life was probably in danger. Xingyu saw that everyone was in a daze and no one came to help her. She said angrily, are you dead? Hurry up and help me up. Take this bitch down, I will tear her into pieces today. The maids finally came back to their senses and quickly went forward to release Xingyu's spiritual power. A few maids approached Yun Chujio and were ready to take her down. Right at this moment, Tower Master Luchen's voice came from the door. What's going on? Xingyu immediately cried out, Tower Master, You have to give this servant justice. This Lin Chuchu beat this servant to such a state for no reason. She is challenging the dignity of the 9 pavilions. Tower Master Luochen looked at Xing Ye's beaten face and frowned, but a trace of a smile flashed across his eyes. The beating was really fierce. He had wanted to do this for a long time. Chapter 3550. She was trying to make herself suffer. Lin Chuchu, what do you have to say? Tower Master Luochen asked coldly. He Xingjiu blinked her eyes and said, Sister Xing Ye's face was made like this by herself. Besides, my spiritual power is only at the first level of the spirit transformation realm. How can I defeat Sister Xingyu? The maids looked at Xingyu suspiciously when they heard Yun Chujia's words. Yes, Xing Ye's spiritual power was at the 8th level of the spirit connection realm. It was more than 10 levels higher than Lin Chuchi's. How could she be beaten like this? Could there really be something hidden? Xingyu pointed at Yun Chujio and said angrily, You're talking nonsense. At that time I accidentally stumbled, so I was tricked by you. Tower Master, look at these shoe prints on my body. They were all kicked by that Lin Chujio. If you don't believe me, you can compare them with her boots. Everyone's gaze fell on the shoe prints on Xing Ye's clothes, and they immediately felt that Xing Ye's words made sense. Tower Master Luochen frowned, afraid that little Jio wouldn't be able to escape this time. I admit that I was the one who kicked those shoe prints, but I was also very helpless. I saw Sister Xingyu beat herself into a pig's head, and even knelt on the ground to kowtow to me to apologize. I thought that she was crazy, so I restrained her spiritual power and kicked her a few times, hoping to wake her up a little. Yun Chujio spread out her hands, indicating that she was really innocent. Xingyu almost died of anger. If not for Tower Master Luochen standing by the side, she would definitely have killed He Xingjiu. Tower Master, she is simply spouting nonsense. Why would I go crazy out of the blue? I gave the room to her out of kindness, but she repaid my kindness with enmity and beat me into this state. You must help me. Xingyu cried. Before Tower Master Luochen could say anything, He Xingjiu clapped her hands and said, Ah, I know. No wonder Sister Xing you wanted to put on such an act. Turns out that it's all because of this room. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, you must be unhappy because I stayed in your room. However, you didn't dare to disobey Tower Master's order, so you came up with a bitter trick. You injured yourself and then framed me for it, but I stubbornly kicked you a few times, which confirmed this matter. Sister Xingyu is really good at scheming. Hearing He Xingjia's words, the maids immediately believed her. Xingyu was usually arrogant and domineering, so she was naturally unwilling to give the room to this Lin Chuchu. Therefore, in order to take revenge on this Lin Chuchu, she used this cruel trick. She really put in a lot of money. Xingyu saw everyone's gazes and was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Just as she was about to defend herself, Tower Master Luochen said with some displeasure, Forget it, today's matter ends here. No one is to mention this matter anymore. Disperse. Xingyu simply could not believe what she had heard. Was this matter just let go? Did this mean that Tower Master believed Lin Chuchi's words? She wanted to defend herself, but when she saw the gloomy expression on Tower Master Luochen's face, she immediately swallowed her words. She looked at Yun Chujio with a cold gaze before she was supported by the other handmaidens and left. After the handmaidens left, Tower Master Luochen did not leave. Instead, he closed the door behind him and looked at He Xingjiu with a burning gaze. He Xingjia's heart was beating fast. What was Lan Luochen trying to do? She followed the principle of the enemy, not moving and not moving. She did not move or speak. She thought that Tower Master Luochen would say or do something. She did not expect that Tower Master Luochen would only stare at her with an obscure gaze for a long time before he pushed the door open and left. Chapter 3551. Pretty boy is my little cutie. He Xingjiu finally let out a sigh of relief when she saw Tower Master Luochen leave. Oh my god. I was scared to death. How did this Lan Luochen turn into a psychopath? The little black bird in the spirit beast bag said slyly, Master, isn't the pretty boy also a psychopath? Why aren't you afraid of him? He Xingjiu raised her eyebrows. Can Lan Luochen compare to the pretty boy? No matter how crazy the pretty boy is, he won't hurt me. This Lan Luochen is gloomy. I always feel that he is in danger. Besides, a gigolo is my little cutie. I like him no matter how crazy he is. Xiao Hanyo almost vomited. His master was also developing into a crazy person. At the mention of de-biming, He Xingjiu frowned. She took out a voice transmission talisman and said, Lan Luochen has brought me to the guest house. There are many guards here. Why don't you wait for me near the female toilet next to the North Peak Spirit Beast Garden tomorrow, and then we can sneak out. Soon, a voice that sounded like someone was gnashing his teeth came from the voice transmission talisman. I have my own plans. Just you wait. He Xingjiu did not have any hope of de-biming's meeting. After all, it was embarrassing to have such a pretentious person hiding near the female toilet, not to mention a crazy person who was obsessed with cleanliness. Just as He Xingjiu was about to put away the voice transmission talisman vibrated again. The guy wondered if the pretty boy had changed his mind. After she sent her spiritual sense in, de-biming's cold voice was heard, Don't sleep tonight. Cultivate. He Xingjiu, was he crazy? Why didn't he sleep at night and cultivate? He Xingjiu ignored the crazy guy and closed her eyes to sleep. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. However, every hour, a certain guy would send her a voice transmission talisman with the same content, Get up and cultivate. He Xingjiu was so angry that she almost crushed the voice transmission rune into pieces. She shouted at the rune, Pretty boy, are you crazy? I want sleep. Shut up. However, it was useless. The voice transmission rune still started to vibrate on time. In the end, He Xingjiu had no choice but to get up and cultivate. She hated the certain someone and prepared more than 100 kinds of torture to punish him. After the sun came out, the voice transmission rune disappeared without a trace. He Xingjiu gnashed her teeth in anger. Although it was not a problem for cultivators not to sleep for a few days, this guy had always been eating, drinking and sleeping well. He was extremely unhappy that he did not sleep at all. At this moment, Xing Ye's gnashing voice came from the door. Lin Chuchu, the pavilion master, wants you to help him wash up. Come out now. Killing intent flashed in He Xingjiu's eyes. Get lost. I'll kill you if you keep shouting. Xing Yu, the other handmaidens, has this Lin Chuchu gone mad? Xing Yu came back to her senses and sneered. She didn't knock on the door anymore. Instead, she went to Tower Master Luchen's bedroom and said respectfully, Tower Master, I went to pass down your order just now, but that Lin Chuchu told me to get lost. What do you think? Come in and help me wash up. Tower Master Luchen's cold voice came from inside. Xing Ye's slightly swollen face suddenly revealed a smug look. That Lin Chuchu was really courting death. She would have a good time. After Xing Yu went in, she saw Tower Master Luochen sitting by the bed in his undergarments. Her heart couldn't help but beat violently. Even if she could see Tower Master every day, she would still be amazed by Tower Master's stunning appearance. Chapter 3552 was indeed hidden in Chaotian's sect just as Xing Yu was in a daze. Tower Master Luochen said indifferently, You've been wronged yesterday. She's still useful, so we can't touch her for the time being. Well, take action today. Xing Ye's face blushed when she heard this. The Tower Master actually knew that she was wronged? And he even comforted her? Xing Yu suddenly felt that the beating last night was worth it. As for Lin Chuchu, the Pavilion Master said that he couldn't touch her for the time being. Did that mean that he could teach her a lesson in the future? Xing Yu happily helped Tower Master Luochen wash up. He Xingjiu only strolled in after breakfast. Xing Yu snorted, You are so arrogant. I called you to serve the Pavilion Master this morning. Why didn't you come? Yun Chuju looked innocent and confused. Sister Xing Yu, did you call me this morning? I didn't hear you. I sleep like a log. If you call me next time, you must call me more often. Xing Yu pursed her lips and thought of what Tower Master Luochen had said before. She was too lazy to argue with Yun Chujiu. They left the guest house. Although He Xingjiu was still dutifully introducing the scenery, she was a little worried. She didn't know what the pretty boy would think of to save her, so she was worried. A day passed by slowly. He Xingjiu had been absent-minded. Fortunately, Tower Master Luochen didn't talk much today, so the day's journey ended smoothly. Just as He Xingjiu was about to find an excuse not to go to the guest house, Tower Master Luochen said, You'd better go back to your own courtyard today and come over early tomorrow. He Xingjiu was both surprised and happy. Lan Luochen, this crazy person, had finally become normal? This fellow hurriedly agreed and then skipped away. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. Xingyu looked at Yun Chujia's back and sneered in her heart. You won't be able to laugh very soon. He Xingjiu skipped back to the dormitory and immediately told Di Biming the news, telling him to go according to the original plan. Di Biming quickly replied with an N and did not say anything else. He Xingjiu had a simple dinner and was very happy in her heart. She was finally going to leave this damn place. This was great. On the other side, after Tower Master Luochen and Xingyu entered the guest house, Xingyu followed Tower Master Luochen into the study room. In the study room stood Tower Master Luochen. Tower Master Luochen, who came in with Xingyu, took off a mask from his face, changed into a set of guard's clothes and left. Did everything go smoothly today? Tower Master Luochen asked coldly. Tower Master, everything went smoothly. No one found any flaws. Did you get that thing? Xingyu couldn't hide her excitement. Tower Master Luochen nodded and a jet black bead appeared in his hand. There was a hint of joy in his tone. This thing is indeed hidden in Chaotian's sect. We didn't come for nothing this time. Xingyu looked at Tower Master Luochen with admiration. Tower Master, you are so wise. The people of Chaotian sect all saw Lin Chuchu accompanying you around. Even if they found this thing missing in the future, they wouldn't suspect you. Hearing Xingyu mention Lin Chuchu, Tower Master Luchen's eyes darkened. He said lightly, not only that, if I'm not wrong, Lin Chuchu will soon be rescued and left Chaotian sect. At that time, even if the incident is exposed, Chaotian sect will only suspect Lin Chuchu and the person who rescued her. Chapter 3553 flew away when Xingyu heard Tower Master Luchen's words. She immediately threw the grievances of the past few days to the back of her mind. At first she thought that the Tower Master had some feelings for Lin Chuchu, but she didn't expect that not only did the Tower Master use her as a cover, but he was also planning to frame her. She had really misunderstood the Tower Master. The Tower Master is indeed clever. However, Chaotian sect is heavily guarded. Can the person you mentioned save Lin Chuchu? Xingyu asked uncertainly. Previously she really thought that Lin Chuchu was a member of Chaotian sect. It wasn't until the Pavilion Master asked her to find someone to investigate that she realized that many people had never seen this Lin Chuchu before. They were brought back by someone who had gone out for the trial by accident. However, the Pavilion Master was afraid that Chaotian sect would be embarrassed, so he didn't expose it. It was a good opportunity to use her to deceive the world. Tower Master Luchen's eyes revealed some mockery as he said coldly, "Wouldn't it be better if we can't save her?" Xingyu was stunned at first, then she smiled and said, "Tower Master is right. If that person can't save Lin Chuchu, then we'll think of a way to kill them. Then we won't be able to prove it." Tower Master Luochen nodded, his eyes flashing with a dark and obscure look. He didn't want to put Yun Chujiu in danger, but in order to clear all the obstacles he had to do this. He had enough confidence to ensure her safety. Moreover, this way Xingyu would not suspect his intentions toward Yun Chujiu, so that the people behind Xingyu would not find trouble with Yun Chujiu. While Tower Master Luochen was thinking, the black bead in his hand flew out of his palm. It was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had broken through the window. Tower Master Luochen and Xingyu were stunned when they saw the hole made by the bead on the window. Then they turned pale with fright. Tower Master Luochen opened the door and flew out without saying anything. He thought that the bead had flown far away, but he didn't expect that the bead was wandering around the courtyard and even in the side room. Seeing Tower Master Luochen coming out of the house, the bead flew out of the courtyard with a whoosh. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. Tower Master Luochen subconsciously ordered the guards outside, "Catch that bead. Don't let it run away." As soon as he said that, he knew that something was wrong. If they mobilized a large force to catch that bead, wouldn't it be a confession? The people of Chaotian sect weren't fools, and it wouldn't be easy to end things by then. But it was already too late. The guards of 9 pavilions rode their swords to catch that bead. Even if he wanted to revoke the order, it was too late. Many people of Chaotian sect must have seen this scene. Tower Master Luochen gritted his teeth. This opportunity was going to be wasted. The most important thing now was to clear his name. As for the bead, he would come and get it in the future. Tower Master Luochen thought about it as he chased. He finally thought of a plausible reason. After all, he had the evidence of his alibi. The Chaotian sect disciples should believe him. At this moment, Chaotian sect was in an uproar. The disciples of Chaotian sect naturally saw the people of 9 pavilions chasing after a bead with great fanfare, and the news quickly reached the ears of the Jima sect master and the others. The Jima sect master, the North and South Peak masters, and several elders immediately panicked. A black bead. Could it be the bead sealed in the Forbidden Land? Why did it fly out of nowhere? There was no time to think. The Jima sect master first activated the sect guarding formation, and then everyone joined the team that was chasing after the bead. Because of the sect guarding formation, the black bead couldn't leave Chaotian sect. This made the Jima sect master and the others feel a little relieved. Although the bead was slippery and hard to catch as long as it didn't leave Chaotian sect. They had a way to catch it. The bead was flying everywhere in Chaotian sect. Since it was small, it could easily fit through any gap. In addition, it was already dark, so they couldn't catch it even after a long time. Tower Master Luochen nodded slightly when he saw the Jima sect master. Sect Master Jima, I found the bead in the courtyard just now. I felt that something was wrong, so I asked my men to help catch it. Please forgive me for trespassing. Tower Master, I should be the one thanking you. This bead is no small matter. We should work together to capture it and send it back to the forbidden area. Although Tower Master Luochen had some doubts in his heart, he thought that Tower Master Luochen had been visiting the North Peak during the day and had no time to enter the forbidden area, so the doubt in his heart was dispelled. Tower Master Luochen nodded and a net-like object appeared in his palm. This is the spirit trapping net. Everyone work together to drive that bead into the ambush circle, and then I will use this spirit trapping net to catch it. Tower Master Luochen was overjoyed, and he quickly arranged for people to consciously drive the bead in the direction of Tower Master Luochen. After a long time of effort, the bead was finally driven to the vicinity of Tower Master Luochen. Tower Master Luochen threw the bead in his hand and the spirit trapping net trapped it firmly inside. Tower Master Luochen put the spirit trapping net back into his hand and looked at the bead inside the spirit trapping net. Although he wished he could take it away, he could only say under the watchful eyes of everyone, Master Jima, since we have already trapped this bead, why don't we enter the forbidden area immediately to prevent it from escaping? Tower Master Jima was afraid that Tower Master Luochen would withdraw the spirit trapping net and the bead would escape again, so he hurriedly nodded and said, Okay, let's not delay. We will head to the forbidden area immediately. Thus, Tower Master Luochen held the bead that was trapped in the spirit trapping net in his hand and followed Tower Master Jima to the forbidden area. When everyone passed by the spirit beast garden, the originally peaceful bead suddenly glowed brightly. Tower Master Luochen was blinded by the dazzling light and closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes, the spirit net in his hand had already broken a big hole, and that bead had already disappeared. Everyone was instantly dumbfounded. The light just now was too dazzling. Everyone subconsciously closed their eyes in that instant, so no one knew what had happened just now. The Jima sect master jumped anxiously. Quickly find it. We must not let that bead enter the human world or there will be a disaster. Everyone suddenly became busy. Some disciples even lay on the ground and searched carefully, but that bead was only the size of a longan and the sky was dark. Where could they find it? The Jima sect master kept sighing. Elder Zhuge suddenly said, Sect master, I remember that although the bead can hide its aura in the dark, it won't be able to hide its aura once the sun comes out. We can definitely find it by then. Upon hearing this, the Jima sect master's expression eased up a little. As long as the sect protecting formation was not removed, the bead would not be able to leave Chaotian sect. They would definitely be able to find it after daybreak. Thinking of this, the leader of the Jima sect sent people to continue searching for the bead, and politely told Tower Master Luochen to go back and rest. Only then did he summon the North and South Peak masters and the elders to the meeting hall to discuss this matter. Everyone discussed and discussed. Someone said, Leader, I think this matter has something to do with Tower Master Luochen. Otherwise, why would he suddenly come to our Chaotian sect? And that bead flew out from his courtyard in the beginning. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Chapter 3555 Almost choked to death. Suddenly someone chimed in, that's right. It said that Tower Master Luochen rarely goes to any sect, so there's no reason for him to stay in our Chaotian sect for a few days. No matter how I think about it, something doesn't feel right. However, there were also people who disagreed, for example Elder Zhuge. Although Tower Master Luchen's visit this time was a little sudden, he has been touring the North Peak for the whole day. He didn't return to the guest house until sunset, so he didn't have time to enter the forbidden area. Moreover, if he stole the bead from the forbidden area, why did he help us catch the bead and put it into his storage ring? Hearing this, everyone felt that what Elder Zhuge said made sense. Not everyone could enter the forbidden area of Chaotian sect. Although Tower Master Luochen had brought many guards, those people didn't have the ability to enter the forbidden area. Seeing that both sides were in a deadlock, the untainted sect master could only say, it's more important to find that bead first. As for whether Tower Master Luochen is related to this matter, we will discuss it later. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement. Then they waited for the sun to rise. After finding that bead, they would send it back to the seal of the forbidden area. Chaotian sect was in a mess. A certain Jiao who always liked to join in the fun didn't come out to watch the fun. This fellow was afraid that Di Baiming would come to save her, so he didn't dare to leave the dormitory for even a moment. However, this fellow couldn't suppress his curiosity. He stood in the courtyard and looked around. He vaguely heard something about a bead and his mouth twitched. This Chaotian sect could be considered a big business. Was there a need to make such a big fuss over a broken bead? Was he not planning to sleep? However, when this fellow heard that the sect protecting formation had been activated, he was instantly dumbfounded. But once the sect protecting formation was activated, how could the pretty boy come in? This guy immediately hated that stupid bead. If it hadn't caused trouble, she would have been able to leave Chaotian sect today. But now, with such a mess, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to leave for a while. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. He Xinjiu had no choice but to take out the sound transmission talisman and brag about the matter. She asked Di Baiming to find a place to stay for a few days and come back to save her when the time was right. Di Baiming was silent for a moment before he finally replied with a yes. He Xinjiu could vaguely hear that the noise had become quieter and yawned. Since she could not leave today, she would just go to sleep. He had not slept the whole night because of the gigolo. She had to catch up on her sleep today. This guy opened his mouth and was yawning. Chapter 3556 is plain US for fools. He Xinjiu looked in the direction that Guai Chao was pointing at and was stunned. Guai Chao was actually pointing at the black bead. Back then, when the cheapskate grandfather gave the black bead to her, he had said that only the Yun family could make it recognize its master. At that time, it was quite incredible that she could make it recognize its master. It was not until she returned to the Yun family that she realized that she was really a member of the Yun family. Presumably, the distant ancestors of the Qingxian continent and the Yun family of the Towering Sky continent should be a family. That was why she was able to make the black bead recognize her as its master. Speaking of which, the black bead did not have a strong sense of existence. Other than devouring the power of thunder and lightning when He Xinjiu fell into an illusion, it would use the pain to remind He Xinjiu. Other than that, there was nothing unusual about it. Right, there was another point. The black bead had once devoured a lot of Hundun energy in the forbidden area of the Palace of Immortals. Could it be that the thing that had entered her mouth was swallowed by the black bead? Go Weiba, do you mean that the thing was eaten by the black bead? The leaves of the Guai Chao shook, apparently confirming Yun Chujia's statement. Yun Chujio used her spiritual sense to look at the black bead carefully, but she did not find anything different. Forget it, let's eat it. After all, none of the things she raised were normal. She was already used to it. Moreover, something that could make the Chaotian sect mobilize so many people was definitely a good thing. If it was swallowed by the black bead, it would indirectly belong to her. This round of operation was not a loss at all. He Xinjiu was really magnanimous. After such an earth-shaking event had happened, This fellow had thrown it to the back of her mind and was lying on the bed sound asleep. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. The next morning after He Xingjiu finished her breakfast, she left the dormitory and hopped toward the guest house. Along the way she met countless Chaotian sect disciples who were searching for the bead on the branches of the bushes. She was secretly happy. Take your time. Even if you find the Elder of Eternity, you won't be able to find the bead. When she reached the entrance of the guest house, a guard went in to report. After a while Xingyu walked out. She said impatiently, "Something has happened to your Chaotian sect, so it's not convenient for our pavilion master to tour around today. You can go back." Yun Chujiu couldn't wait to do that, so she left with a smile. Xingyu pursed her lips. This Lin Chuchu might really think that she was favored by their pavilion master, but in fact she was just a chess piece. What an idiot. However, when she thought of what happened last night, Xing Ye's expression suddenly became a little ugly. The original plan was flawless, but who would have thought that the bead would actually escape from the pavilion master's hands? What bad luck. However, as long as the bead was still in Chaotian sect, the pavilion master would find another way to get it away sooner or later. As for Lin Chuchu, she was just a piece of trash. He would find a chance to deal with her in the future. To avoid suspicion, He Xingjiu went straight back to her dormitory after leaving the guest house. He didn't go out. The people of Chaotian sect searched for an entire day, but they didn't even see the bead. The Jima sect master and the others immediately looked worried. Where did the bead go? Someone said, "Sect master, that bead was lost in the hands of Tower Master Luchen. Could it be that he had secretly stolen it and used some secret method to create the light, and then hid the bead while we were closing our eyes?" Elder Zhong is right. Maybe that bead was stolen by someone sent by Tower Master Luochen from the forbidden area, and then somehow the bead escaped. Tower Master Luochen got the bead again in the name of helping us find the bead. Then he deliberately hid the bead from us. He is playing us like fools. Chapter 3557. Search the entire sect. Hearing the words of these two people, everyone immediately began to discuss. The more they talked, the more they felt that the bead had been hidden by Tower Master Luochen. Even Elder Zhuge, who had previously spoken up for Tower Master Luochen, frowned. This matter was too coincidental. Tower Master Luochen was too suspicious. The untainted sect leader's expression was ugly. Could it be that they had respectfully welcomed in a thief? Although the 9 pavilions had a high status and powerful strength, their Chaotian sect was not a fool that would be fooled by others. Moreover, the successive sect leaders had instructed the next sect leader that the beads sealed in the Forbidden Land were no trifling matter and should not be allowed to wander around in the world. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, even if they might risk offending the 9-storied pavilion, this matter could not be let go just like that. After the Jima sect master explained his intention, everyone expressed their agreement. Even if the 9-storied pavilion was not easy to provoke, this matter had to be investigated thoroughly. Therefore, the Jima sect master immediately sent someone to invite Tower Master Luochen to the meeting hall. Tower Master Luochen had already guessed that the matter would come to this point, and he was very angry. Therefore, he was not in the mood to see Yun Chujiu in the morning and allowed Xingyu to send Yun Chujiu away. The plan was very detailed and it was so close to success. Who would have thought that not only did they fail to get the bead, but they also attracted the suspicion of Chaotian sect. It was as if they didn't get to eat the fox meat, but they got into trouble instead. This was not the worst, the disappearance of the bead was the worst. The people of Chaotian sect couldn't find the bead even after searching for a whole day. It was likely that they couldn't find it at all. This was really difficult to deal with. As soon as Tower Master Luochen entered the meeting hall, he said coldly without waiting for the Jima sect master to speak, "I know that your sect suspects that I have taken the bead. This is inevitable. After all, the bead disappeared in my hands. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. In order to prove their innocence, everyone in the 9 pavilions can accept the inspection of your sect, including me." If something else was lost, the Jima sect master would have laughed and gone over. However, the bead was no small matter. Therefore, the Jima sect master said a few polite words but didn't reject Tower Master Luchen's words. Of course, the so-called body search was not like the secular world where one would feel around one's body.